who he was in week one. Is he one and done? Is he gone? Will he be a first-round quarterback this year? Or does he stay and play for dad for one more year? Because, well, Shedor's never played for another guy. Like, he has played for his father since he was a child. Every single team. It's the reason why I followed him to Jackson State and didn't go and play, true Division I football. Although, if you ask Shedeur and Travis Hunter, both of them were like, listen, it's not that much different. It's just a bigger stage and maybe some more players of high caliber, but there's still very, very high caliber players at places like Grambling and Jackson State. If he stays another year is the question, right? If he continues this trajectory. And I asked you in the break about a half hour ago, well, does it make you nervous that if CU has immediate success, that someone from a bigger school, bigger opportunity possibly has already been knocking on the Deion Sanders door? Because there's always going to be the chance that, Florida State asks about him or a big time SEC school asks about him. Who knows? Maybe even an NFL team asks about him. Are you nervous about him leaving? And then I looked at the 2025 recruiting rankings on ESPN. Mm-hmm. And these are kids who are not coming into school next year, but the year after.
Yep.
Which, if Shedeur stays, would be incoming freshman quarterbacks. And the two top quarterbacks in those recruiting cycles are Bryce Underwood, the number one overall recruit out of Missouri, 6'5", 205 pounds. And then you also have a 6'6" quarterback in George McIntyre out of Tennessee, both of which are undecided right now. McIntyre's a 4-star recruit. Underwood's a 5-star recruit. CU has offers out to both of those players. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I look at that and see how he was able to flip Dylan Edwards, mm-hmm. how he was able to flip Travis Hunter, how he was able to flip Cormani McClain. It's not out of the equation that if Deion Sanders can show up on day one and have that crazy win mm-hmm. against TCU, that he could get one of those kids. And as soon as you get a 4 or 5-star recruit quarterback, a number one in the nation at that position, mm-hmm. I think all of your concerns about Deion leaving Boulder would just go out the window.
Yeah, and it's one of those positions where there's a lot of kids across young men, across the nation that are dynamic at that position. But I just think what he's proving to us is one thing. And I know that, look, conventionally, if we're going to think about this conventionally, especially with the CU going back to the Big 12, and I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, great, he's going to recruit Texas. Nobody's going to want to recruit against Deion in Texas," and that's true. But what he is proving is that he can recruit nationally. He's not going to have to rely on a region. He's not going to. Now, he might recruit one region better than another, but he's going to pull players from anywhere he wants. And even when CU was really good, they never did that. It was. They went down to Houston and Texas. They got all the players out of Texas, and they got some players out of California as well. And those were the two hubs. But now it doesn't matter. He's got dudes from Florida flying to Colorado.
How many of those guys exist, though? Think mm-hmm. about that right now, right? Because recruiting is such a regional game, right, Chris? And you know that better than anyone, having covered the game for 25 years, right? There might be 3 coaches that can say, yeah, I'm a national guy. There might be 3, maybe 5. You're talking about Saban, Swinney, who's a guy who I talked about that, like, if Clemson can't find a way to figure out their quarterback situation, like, maybe he's on a quasi hot seat. But you're talking about Saban, maybe Brian Kelly, that doesn't look great in LSU right now. Lincoln Riley at 40 years old, happy birthday at USC. And then who else? The rest of the country is very regionally specific. Mm-hmm. Deion's he is in a tier of his own, or he's in that, well, I'm Nick Saban, so you're going to come play for me.
Right. I think he's the most unique thing that we've seen ever in college football coaching, certainly. I think it's just going to be, he resonates with these young men and their parents in just a different way. And so I just think that's going to be he'll be able to recruit most of who he wants pretty much whenever he wants. Not that he'll never lose a recruiting battle. Of course he will, because good players go everywhere. Georgia and Alabama and all these teams are stocked with really good players. He's just now going to get Colorado to be amongst those those programs, and he'll recruit and he'll win his battles. He'll probably get one of those three quarterbacks that you're talking about. And I'll say this because we're talking about losses and I know we're up against it here, but like one of the things I said about how long Deion Sanders will stay at the University of Colorado, if you're CU, you need to raise his salary every single year. That is not hyperbole. You have to do it every single year because you don't want any SEC team to just throw buckets of money at him and then he's really got to think about it. You got to take that out of the equation by just continuing to do it. And if your ticket sales are any example of what is happening here, then you're gonna have the money to be able to do that. That's how you keep him for as long as you possibly can. He won't be here forever.
Also, that Big 12 deal kicks in next year, so that's awful and nice.
All good.
That's going to do it for us. For Chris Dempsey, my partner, I'm Alex Ryanemi. As always, Steve Nelson behind the glass and Josh Grismer. I love and appreciate you guys.
Oh, no. I read through that bull junk you wrote down. I read through that. I sifted through all that.
This is Dempsey and Company. We'll be back at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Bunch more Broncos talk as week 1 against the Raiders looms on Sunday. PhD is next.
What's up?
What's up?
Rivalry week. Easy for me to say. I'm so hyped right now. I can't even tell you guys.
Brother, everybody keeps asking me when I'm going to come down. I don't know. It kind of feels like, don't do drugs, but it kind of feels like I took all the drugs, like all of them.
Hey,
right?
the college football world hasn't come down yet. I mean, they were in game last night, Duke and Clemson, nothing to do with Colorado. And they
another good game with a big upset.
Yep. And they mentioned it twice. They talked about Prime in Colorado.
I didn't see any of that Duke game last night. I'm so jealous that I didn't. I was out, but I didn't get to see any of it. Unbelievable. That's amazing. And you know what? Good for them. Easy to root for that coach. That QB. Holy cow.
Yeah, and that Duke defense is legit. I mean, they fly around. They fly to the football. It was a great game. And like you said, an upset that you weren't necessarily expecting. Wondering if we've lost the magic from Clemson a little bit here.
Who cares about Clemson? What are we talking about right now?
This is what we do in America. We talk about the rise and the fall of great American sports teams.
Yeah, well, I am on a rise right now.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not on a fall. I'm on a rise.
Colorado can step right into that void that Clemson is leaving and be a college football playoff team and national champion for years.
Ranked team after 1 week?
Oh, no, that's not a question mark. You said that with a question. It's already out, pal. Colorado by ESPN was number 21. In the other one, they were 19.
And did we not say last week that if they beat
Is that power rankings, though, or those official polls?
That was ESPN's.
Okay, so power rankings?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So Nelly, did we get official polls on them yet? Do you know?
So I believe they were 25 in the coaches poll. I don't think AP has released theirs yet.
Okay, so the coaches poll actually surprises me a little bit. I expected the coaches to make them wait another week.
You know what? I said the same thing when I was on air with Ches, and I got energy, but good Lord, man, I couldn't. That dude got some energy after that game. Just did a show with him yesterday morning. That dude's got it going. He was getting all ticked off.
Didn't need a cup of coffee.
Yeah, no. He's getting all ticked off at me because I was like, well, I just don't know if the other voters are going to give him the respect. People want affirmation. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't make the top. Yes, they deserve it, but I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't make it. But you know what? Well, that's how real it was.
And we were talking about it in the green room before the show started. Here's the one thing that you saw in that game: fluke, non-fluke, defense got to get. Yeah, we'll break all the stuff down. That being said, that's one of the speediest teams in college football. Period. I mean, I watched a little bit of highlights of Michigan, and they're pretty good too. They're bigger, but they ain't faster. Ohio State. Bigger, they ain't faster.
Well, and that's what I said to you guys last week, particularly in college football with the wide hashes, that speed can kill.
So I put out a tweet, and I was mostly being facetious, but I put out a tweet when the FSU-LSU game started, and I was like, Colorado would crush either one of these teams. Of course I was being facetious. But as I watched that game, I literally walked away from it. The only thing missing from Colorado right now, they don't have any edge rushers like those guys got. I mean, they don't have any big boys on that defensive line. Like, yeah, that's missing. But to Scott's point,
but you know what?
They go speed to speed with anybody in the country.
And listen, I mean, like I said, we're going to break it all down. We're just, we can even do a little bit here, but defense not good. I mean, you give up 42 points, you won the game. That's going to be tough for me to live with for the entire season. However, when you needed a stop, did they get a stop at the end of the game?
Got big when they needed to get big.
Did they not have a pass rush at the end of the game? I mean, that last move on the last pass where the guy goes upside, spins inside, looked like DeMarcus Ware, spins inside, hits the quarterback he's throwing, game over.
So listen, you can't have a super successful season with a defense like that. There's no question about it. It's got to improve, but you got to give credit where credit's due. They made big plays.
Yes, they
did. They go 3 and out. The interception, man. Okay, so Travis Hunter hawks that dude down about 75 yards, however far he ran. An insane feat. It was like a DK Metcalf type of chase down, right?
Yeah.
So he gets that stop.
They make him come inside.
But in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, big whoop. They're gonna score anyways, right? So he gets that stop, and then he follows it up with truly, I really mean it, Top 3 interception I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, yeah.
Top 3 interception I've ever seen in my life. So he gets the stop there, and then he gets the interception right after that. That's a huge moment. And then game's on the line. You need one stop. What are you going to do? They get it done.
Yeah, you get pressure on the quarterback, and then you make a great open field tackle on a tight end, one-on-one.
Yeah.
Short for 3 yards. Boom, boom, boom. Game's over.
And when they showed the camera angle from behind, you saw just how alone that linebacker was.
Yeah.
I mean, if he misses that tackle, it's an easy first down and probably
maybe
more. Yeah.
And he able to step out of bounds if he wants to. And don't sleep on this also. What is the safety's name that had the interception at the beginning of the game? The guy that was still there from last year. Woods, Trevor Woods.
Woods, yeah.
That was a great pick, too. And they had 2 interceptions down the red zone. Mm-hmm. Now, they gave up 42 points. Could have been, 56. But they had 2 big plays in red zones that mattered.
But and I said this a couple times while I was watching the game, the speed matters more down in the red zone, too. There's less ground to cover, so that speed goes a longer way. Those 2 interceptions in the red zone are partially good coaching, but also partially good athletes. Mm-hmm. They can make it to those balls and make those interceptions.
And both of them, Woods and Hunter, both their interceptions were great reads.
Yes.
I mean, if you go back and look at the film, I listened to the broadcast on the radios up in the mountains and recorded here. So last night I stayed up till freaking 12:30, but I wanted to watch the whole thing, and I watched it from start to finish. Those were 2 good reads by those players.
So that the interception from Travis Hunter, Acho from ESPN did a great job breaking it down. Matter of fact, if we can find that audio, maybe let's try to find it. It's kind of long, but
and it's hard without the video.
I'll summarize it here, but long story short. So you've got 2 guys on the outside, and I'm totally stealing Nacho's thoughts here, but you got 2 guys on the outside. You're in man coverage. They both go into a slant on the inside. The running back takes a wheel route out to the right side. The 2 defensive backs,
which CU scored on twice.
It was the exact same play.
CU scored on twice.
He makes this point in the video.
Literally the exact same play. So Travis Hunter passes off his guy to the interior defensive back. The interior defensive back passes off his guy to the linebacker. And then Travis Hunter makes the read, sees the running back coming out on the wheel route to the right side, and then he takes the gamble of a lifetime. And he says, forget the player, I'm going for the ball.
Well, it's a touchdown if he doesn't get it anyway. So what's a gamble almost,
But Scotty, what's amazing about it is that ball is thrown back shoulder to that running back. If you watch that replay, the running back is reaching back behind him, back shoulder to catch that football. That's the best place you can put the ball if you're the quarterback. And Hunter decides, I'm not going to light this guy up. I'm not going to tackle this guy. I'm going to go and pick that ball, go across his body and pick that ball up. It's an amazingly athletic play.
And it was a harder catch than the touchdown he dropped laying out for, because that was like right there in the arms and hands, right?
So that was
a harder catch than the drop touchdown.
Let's get into that a little bit too, because everybody all weekend is putting his stats up on different shows and different games talking about how he's a Heisman candidate. And all I could think to myself is he had 2 more touchdowns he could have had and a dropped interception. Well, listen, he could have had 3 TDs and 2 picks in a game.
And
easy.
That pick he dropped was a lot easier than the one, too.
He bumped
the guy's shoulder, but it was right in his hands.
Listen, Deion comes out at halftime, and he says, we missed Travis on 2 deep balls. We catch those 2 deep balls. He's got the Heisman at the crib. And I think Americans looking at Deion like kind of rolling their eyes a little bit, like, oh, okay. Travis Hunter is 100% a Heisman candidate, 100%. And legitimately, if he would have caught those, he is the front runner today. Now, also keep in mind, Shedeur Sanders throws for 510 yards in that game. He must have had 2, maybe 3 30 to 40-yard passes that were dropped on a dime. That got dropped. That dude could have thrown for over 600 yards.
And that was the Dan Orlovsky video is he talked about how well the placement of those throws are, like pinpoint placement, exactly where you want it to be, but it's 40 yards downfield and a yard off the side. Like, it's amazing.
He was on point. I don't know the exact stat number what he was, but he had not just Hunter, but there was 2 or 3. I mean, they probably had 5 legit drops in that game that could have added, as you said, maybe even close to 600. Shedeur Sanders is a Heisman Trophy candidate also. Ain't no question in my mind. And like you guys, early on, he was patient underneath, boom, wheel route, ding, ding, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, gave him a little time. And that dude's deep ball's nice.
So the deep ball is unbelievable, but the processor is what impressed me the most. Listen, there's some folks out there discounting what Shedeur did because no, they weren't the most difficult throws in the world. The majority of them, there were some really tough ones. The majority of them, he was taking what was there. But listen, that's what being a quarterback is.
Yeah.
That's what being a QB is. You identify the defense. You know what you're going to do pre-snap. You get that ball, and then you throw it. And the offensive line, listen, they were supposed to be a huge question mark. And they had a couple they'd like to have back. No question. A couple they'd like to have back. But when you've got a quarterback that gets rid of the ball, Peyton Manning made me look good. Why? Because he got rid of the dang ball. And it's hard to get beat when your quarterback knows where he's going to put it.
Listen, that's part of your job when you're coaching 18 and 19 and 20-year-old kids is to make the game easy for them. I loved the game plan coming out. You know that they've got better athletes on the defensive line than you have on the offensive line. You know you've got better athletes in space, and you know you've got a quarterback who can make quick decisions. There's no reason not to throw the short game all day long. So yes, were the throws easy? Were they quick? Absolutely. But at the same time, I thought it was a masterful game plan, and Shedeur absolutely executed it brilliantly.
No, it was fantastic, and for TCU, the one thing they did last year, and they even brought up in the game, I think they led the FCS as far as fourth quarter comebacks, and I think it said 6 or 7 where they were down going to fourth quarter and came back and won games. But that's how you do sometimes. Sometimes you got to get a little lucky, win some games like that. Next thing you know, you're playing for the national championship, right? Outmatched there, but I mean, you're playing in the national championship. Colorado doesn't have to say excuse me to TCU as far as team speed. And I would just challenge everybody else out there watching college football from here on in. And guess what? We were already going to watch because of Deion's hype.
Yep.
And then after he puts that performance on the field, we are really going to be watching now. I can't believe how many people have called me. I've been invited to 3 or 4 things up in the mountains next weekend to go watch CU Nebraska. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, the fire up is right now real.
Well, listen, there's a lot of hype, and I know people have been talking about it all day, but we are too hyped about it not to keep talking about it. And I think some of the offseason hype actually helped CU in the fourth quarter. We'll talk about that next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
Hey, what's up, guys? Are you tired of your workouts not going as far as you want them to go? Are you tired of not looking as good, feeling as good, sleeping as good as you want to? Well, if so, call my friends over at Revitalized Health. This is Tyler Columbus, and I've been working with them for 7 years now, and I wouldn't stay with them for 7 years unless they made a huge difference in my life. Check them out. They got 3 locations, so they're close to you no matter where you are. Testosterone, peptide therapy, hormone replacement, medical weight loss options, they have got you covered. Find them online at revitalize-health.com.
Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's PhD, Columbus, Hastings, and Dover. I am Rob Trujillo filling in for Josh Dover and talking all Buffs all the time. Well, not really, but kind of. It feels like it. But they deserve the hype, man. They deserve the hype.
You say that facetiously, but Dion keeps this going. He wins another game like this. This will be the most talked about team in this state. It will be.
Yeah. And you've put the opener for the Denver Broncos on the back burner for at least 24, 48 hours. And to be real honest with you, I mean, it was that big because we all didn't know. We saw the hype. We love the hype. We love the videos. We play him on here all the time. His and I don't know if we'll play that today too. I hope we do. But his pep talk before the game was outstanding, right? And then someone hit my theme song.
One after,
I mean, it was unbelievable.
After the game was amazing too. I mean, he gave me chills listening to that speech.
I had to figure out what that song was. I did figure it out. It was Yin Yang Twins halftime. That's his theme song.
All right.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we have some
You might have
breaking
to
news.
find that for us here, Nelly.
Some breaking news. The AP poll is now out, and your Colorado Buffaloes, I thought they were going to have to wait a week before they started to get the respect. Turns out, no. Number 22 in the AP poll already jumped to a ranked spot, a team that had one win last year.
Boys, I'm with you. I was not going to be surprised if the AP did not include the Buffs in the top 25. But I guess there's some folks out there smarter than I thought they were because it took me one series to watch that and realize that is different. That is different. I'm telling you right now, offenses do not click in that quick of a time period. It does not happen. Sean Lewis looks like he's had those boys for 5 years.
Well, that's what happens when you get a head coach who now you bring in to be your offensive coordinator, right? Like it looked like, especially that first drive. And you know those plays are scripted, right? So, of course, they're going to be more practiced than the rest of the plays that he calls. But it was clockwork. It was amazing.
I don't get on Twitter since my account was hacked and had to start a new one, whatever. So I really don't even play with Twitter much. But I went on Twitter after that first drive and I said, I know it's early, but wow. I mean, that first drive, the first drive of the year, like you said, they don't have preseason. I'm going to listen to Andy and Nate driving home on Friday, and they were talking about, you think college will ever get to where they maybe have a preseason game or two? And the lady yesterday goes, well, no, college says they don't need it.
Yeah, right.
College says they don't need that.
Yeah.
This is what they do.
Well, and don't get me wrong, some of the games this weekend, you saw teams that looked like they were behind the eight ball a little bit, but I think that's just a credit to Prime and the coaching staff that he put together. And, I said I was believing the whole time, and Scott had to get on Twitter and...
Oh, listen.
Hey,
The typical young dude that has to have exterior validation.
Right.
And he's telling us, I took a money line. You're
right.
impressed. You know about that stuff. And I go, what is it? Well, it'll win 650. And you bet 100 to win 650, I think is what the initial bet was.
Would be how it works.
I said, okay, good luck on that. And he goes, well, I only bet 5. So don't sit there and start, and then you get on Twitter and start, look what I did. Oh, no one else said I could do.
I literally have a text from Marty O that says, I owe you an apology because you said that they were going to win and I gave you a hard time on air for it.
No,
I didn't just.
No.
You're not. Hold on.
You threw a fun flyer out there.
Hold on. Mr. Only bet what you can afford to lose. I'm sure you're not giving me a hard time for not putting more money on the game because I only bet what I can afford to lose, which is a 5.
All right, fair.
But what else do you want me to do aside from come on here and tell you guys I think they're going to win the game?
No.
We finished the show on Friday with me saying.
I'll tell you, dude, I'll give some credit to. Chaz put a G on that thing.
I saw that.
Line.
I saw that.
He put a G on that
thing.
thing.
Yeah, he cashed.
He cashed.
Oh yeah.
But I finished this show.
Stupid is and stupid does.
I finished this show on Friday by saying you can listen to Tyler Columbus Monday morning after a Buffs win. Like I literally said, what else do you want me to do?
Everybody said that's a throwaway.
Right.
If you want credit, we'll give you credit. But you said the odds are too good. I had to throw at least 5 on it. You didn't sit there and say, I think they can win.
I can get Marty to pull the sound. I literally said, I think they can win that game. That's literally the way
I've said that before, too. And I said, if they do win it, they'll be ranked. There was no question in my mind. Listen,
so
The biggest name in college sports right now, and I've always said this too, in college sports, the face of your program is always your head coach.
100%.
There is not a bigger face. No knock on Debo Sanders or no knock on Alabama or LSU, nowhere. Harbaugh, free Harbaugh, whatever. Okay,
That was ridiculous.
He's the biggest name in college sports right now. Today that we're sitting here right now, the biggest name in college sports is Deion Sanders.
He's
period.
the biggest name in sports. I don't even think you have to qualify it with college right now.
No, you can't.
I mean, he is dominating the sports world right now.
You can't turn on ESPN for 5 minutes without seeing Colorado being talked about. Shannon had a great line. He said, I haven't seen Colorado talk this much since they legalized marijuana. I mean, legitimately, it's 5 minutes and you're watching highlights.
So I want to talk about that and how I think it helped the team on Saturday.
The hype machine.
The hype. They have lived through an entire summer of hearing about, oh, we're going to be terrible. Oh, I think they're going to be good. The hype, the back and forth, the attention, the pressure that got put on that team. Then you go to the second half on Saturday. TCU scores to go ahead. And I even said, they're in it. They're in it now. You're deep into this game where all of a sudden you have pressure. And what does that offense respond and do? Mm-hmm. They go score touchdowns on their next 3 drives. And in between 2 of those drives, TCU drives down and scores a touchdown too. One was the big kickoff return. But it goes touchdown, 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 touchdown. And then your defense steps up and gets a stop at the end of the game. And all I could think to myself was, these kids were ready for this pressure because they've had it all season. And all I could think about was 2 weeks ago when Prime was saying, hey, they came here because they want the smoke. They want the heat. They want the pressure. Mm-hmm. And they showed that they were ready for it on Saturday. And I thought that was the most telling thing I saw all day.
I could not be more impressed by the confidence and the poise of those young men that were out there. Look, man, I struggled as a young player, both in college and the NFL, with confidence. I did. It took me 2 or 3 years in college before I felt like, man, I shouldn't get beat by anybody. It took me until my 3rd year in the NFL before I thought, man, there's not a human being in this league that should be beating me, right? But I didn't walk into the league like that. And those kids walked out there truly believing. And I got to give so much credit to Deion Sanders because I wish I had great coaches. I had really great coaches. But Deion Sanders is so focused on the mental aspect of belief in yourself and belief in what you're doing that he deserves all the credit in the world for instilling that type of belief.
He preaches, and listen, how many years have we heard the guy say it's not the outcome, it's how you play? And he's kind of preached that. In fact, like I said, we have the opening statement. He goes, it ain't about the team over there, it's about us. And he's preached that to these kids since day one. It's about us. Mm-hmm. Are you playing 100%? You got that guy on your shoulders back. Does he have yours? Do you have a confidence? And so I don't know if he's ever really preached winning or losing. He's preached, like I said, it's an old adage, do your best. And then if it's just not good enough, it's not good enough. Let's make some adjustments. We'll get on to next week. Because he's never really preached, we got to win 8 games. No. It's about us. We're going to try to put our best performance out every day. And I think he's instilled that in the kid, and this goes to the confidence statement that you just talked about. When you go and you can get a kid to go and listen, I know you're going to make mistakes. I know you're going to mess up. He has a big faith. Everybody's a sinner.
Right.
Okay, what do you do after that?
Yeah.
How do you go beyond that? And I think he's preached that to them literally, and I think they've bought in. And so far,
I think it was the fumble. Remember when the running back goes down and he hits his teammate's foot and the ball comes out? Yeah. And Prime responded exactly like you're saying. Hey, it's all right. We'll be all right. I know you didn't mean to do that. I know that wasn't a mental lapse on your part. It happens sometimes. And
let me just say this.
I love coaches that do that.
And here's another thing with Prime that maybe it shouldn't have surprised us. Now, listen, I know we're way ahead of ourselves, but listen, Carl Terrell was 8-15 his time here. Mel Tucker before him 5-7. Mike McIntyre in 5 years 30-44. John Embry before him 4-21. There's been bad football up in Boulder. We have not had anything to really be excited about. The one year was 2016. The McIntyre had the team pretty good, won their division, the Pac-12. That's it. There's not been excitement up there. But Deion Sanders proved also this, and there was question, well, let's see if he gets on the big stage. Let's see what the big stage. It doesn't matter to him, and he said this to us. I've been in the light. I've been in the brightest lights. This ain't new. This ain't nothing new to me. And he didn't coach any different than he was coaching down in Jackson State. He was coaching men to play football. And he came up to CU, brought the same attitude.
Well, and I think one of the really telling things was, yes, he went after a couple of reporters about if they believed or not. But the other thing he said was that he's getting the kids to buy. He didn't even have the full buy-in of the locker room, he didn't think. He's getting the kids to buy in now.
I'm about to get comfortable in a minute. Because guess what? These young men in there right now, they believe. Not all of them believed before. But right now, they came up one by one, twos by twos. Coach, we believe. Now they believe. Now Boulder believes. People in the front office, people in the building, the fans, the students. Now everybody want to believe. I'm good with that. We got room.
We got room.
We got room.
We got room.
And that was going to be my next question. And it's been years, but a lot of us remember. In fact, I was sitting there having a beer on Sunday up in Grand Lake, and a lady, they live here now, and they were so excited about the game, but she grew up in Omaha. She goes, I remember when it was CU Nebraska and this in Omaha, Nebraska. They go, that was such a huge rivalry. I mean, so somebody in Nebraska is finally going to admit that was a right. Thank you very much for at least some admission.
Man, my favorite place to be right now is Cornhusker Twitter. That's my favorite place to be.
Well, and
they are losing their minds right now.
And I'll throw this out there, and I'm going to be – I can't wait to see Saturday because you know this is true. How about seeing Rob Mayno? I don't know. Nebraska at CU – that was about 70% red sweaters in that stadium almost every.
I think you're a bit light on 70, unfortunately.
As it got when CU got bad, it might have been 80.
Yeah.
I can't envision that Saturday.
I can't either. I put out a tweet this morning. I said, please, for the love of all that's good and holy, do not sell your tickets to a Nebraska fan. I get it, man. I do. I understand the temptation. You sell your tickets for one game and you cover the entire season. You know, I get the temptation.
Well, do that to another CU fan.
But there you go. But you know what? And in all sincerity, and I'm not talking about anybody's money, but you can't put a price tag on the experience you're about to have on Saturday. There is not a price tag. The energy that is going to come out of that building when Ralphie comes out, and I hope Ralphie's wearing all the diamonds. I hope she's got all of them on. I hope Deion Sanders literally customized her outfit. I'm dead serious. Hey, man, if we're in with Deion, let's be in. Let's go.
And you know what else? See if you guys saw this. I'm assuming that his sons and his production company helped do it. And I said, when they hired him, after we saw some of the videos he did, the flyover of the stadiums, when they first hired him, remember, and you're like, gosh, CU's never had a video propping up their school like Deion's group came in a week and put out there. Did you see the schools? You know how they always do an advertisement for the school in the game?
Prime academics.
Yeah, we have prime academics.
Yeah.
We have prime science.
Dude,
was it a great commercial?
It was a fantastic commercial.
It was and I'm like, now wait a minute. This thing was produced before this game.
Well, you know what? That's the one thing that the University of Colorado has been missing for years. They never valued the football team the way that they needed to value the football team. And finally, people are realizing when you have good football, everybody wins.
Yeah.
The entire university is going to win, and they're all bought into it.
Nelly, let's see if we can find that too and put that on Twitch. It's as good of a CU. You know, we got good academics, and we got a prime mascot. We've got prime science. We have prime medical, and it was all the different schools, but they would call themselves. We have prime student body. It was fantastic.
Well, and Vic on the morning show has been saying it for years. Your football team is your front porch of your university. Like it or not.
Yeah.
Right. It is what welcomes a lot of people who don't have any idea about your university to the university.
So, unless you're Kansas and Bill Self sitting out on the front porch.
Very rarely, yes, you can get a couple. Arizona, right? Yeah. Same thing. UCLA maybe even too. But very rarely is it anything but football that welcomes a national audience to your university without them. Yes, the people in Colorado know how good the school is. right? Like
It's a great school, great university.
It's a great school. They got a great medical campus here in Denver. Like we here in Colorado know that. But the guy who was watching in Florida on Saturday has no idea. No. Not until he flipped on that game on Saturday and started to learn a little bit about your university. And so, Prime as an ambassador, and I said this a couple different times, listen, he does everything a head coach needs to do in college. He kisses babies and shakes hands. He can get you extra dollars. He can recruit. He can sit and look in a recruit's eye and a mom's eye and say, your best opportunity is to come with me and mean it. And man, can he find a coaching staff? Like, I cannot tell you how important it is, the coaches that he found and brought with him. And I think you saw it. Scotty, you were talking about how it's been bad football for a whole bunch of years. They scored 28 points in the second half. That's more than all but one game last year.
Yep.
Full game. I'm talking they scored more in a half than they scored in any one full game last year, except for one.
Hey, Sean Lewis took a gamble of a lifetime. Nobody steps down from a head coaching job. Nobody. I don't care where you're coaching. You coach there until you get a better head coaching job. Sean Lewis is the head coach at Kent State University, and he willingly steps down from that job to come be the offensive coordinator at the University of Colorado because he realizes in his mind that is my quickest path to a Power 5 program, right? That is a gamble of a lifetime. And you know what? You keep it up like that, he'll be a head coach next year.
Yeah, it was funny. I may have retweeted somebody had already put out. Now the clock's on whose next team steps up and steals Prime from CU next year. I don't think it's going to be Prime, but it might be your offensive coordinator.
So everybody keeps asking me that. And yes, of course, it's always a threat that Prime would leave. Of course, it's always a threat. But I said this before, and I truly believe it. The quicker you can get good, the less the threat is of Prime leaving. Because if Prime has like a slow acclimation where it gets better and better and better, and all of a sudden the university is like, you know what, let's go take a gamble on him. Okay, he'd probably jump ship. But if you come out in year one and you become a top 25 team, you become a top 15 team, and then in year two you become a top 10 team, where are you going that's better, right? Like where are you going?
And you know what? I don't even know if this is good, but the one thing social media has done, it's shrunk the United States. It's shrunk the demographic of where you live and whatever else, because anything he wants, advertising wise, dollars and all this different stuff, he can get here just like he could get if he coached Syracuse or if he coached Florida or any place like that. Now he may want to go back to the ACC or the SEC because it's roots. But dude, he turns this around here. He was on a National Almond commercial yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean,
boys,
you don't need to go anywhere.
He was on a was it Geico with Nick Saban? Mm-hmm. He was on a Geico commercial with Nick Saban, and Nick Saban was secondary to him. He was,
and that was when he was at Jackson State.
Well, no, this is a buff one.
I didn't
see that one.
Oh yeah, it's good because Saban says like, who you can back that up with, and Prime says, well, I got my new friend, and Ralphie comes walking out. It's awesome.
Oh, so, I gotta see that. I didn't see that.
It was good. One. It was a good commercial. Here's the other thing about it: all of his kids that came from Jackson State, they can't move with him again. You need to get a waiver from the NCAA to not have to sit out a year to move again.
We've already seen that. We've already seen the one guy which they're making sit out this year, right?
Shiloh, Shador, Travis, all those guys would have to get a waiver if they were to transfer again. So I think you have at least, as long as his kids are in school, he'll be up there.
With those names that you just brought up, the concern's not them going somewhere else. It's can you keep them for more than a year?
Sure, they're going to go pro at some point, but who knows? They might stick around if he stick around. He might stick around if they stick around.
But seriously, I mean, the loyalty that Travis Hunter has to that man is insane. The loyalty that Shador obviously has to his father, you can't break that. And if you're sitting there at CU making $3.5 million, hey man, maybe I'll play another year.
Right.
You know.
Well, did you see the one thing the Arch Manning that went to Texas and is going to be a backup quarterback for 1 year is going to make more money this year in NILs than Joe Burrow is making in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So, and once again, because of social media, things are strong. In fact, there was a Travis Hunter commercial. I thought I saw a Travis Hunter commercial on there. Now it might have been a local, But I think Travis Hunter was there. Travis Hunter,
and he's also doing something with Bleacher Report. Like they're getting plenty of money. Like and I also saw they're going to open an NIL online store where the kids can put stuff that they make with their names on it up for sale, and that's part of their NIL deals.
I know it's that sweet white hoodie, and I love white hoodies and stuff, but I eat a lot of bad stuff. But that sweet white hoodie that Prime was wearing in that game
had the shortened sleeves, the nice little black.
I don't know if you saw it, but
Ralphie
it was up for sale. I saw it like on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's already out there to get.
The most impressive feat of that entire game was Deion Sanders wearing a hoodie in 120 degrees.
Although they said it was only 80 something.
No. They said on that field it registered at 120 degrees. He didn't have a drip of sweat coming down his forehead wearing a hoodie the entire time.
The man feels
that dude is made of ice.
And you know what? And I will say, he ran out.
He did.
Yep. And we wondered with that last surgery, which was only 5-6 weeks ago. He ran out.
And I think they only caught him sitting down one time. They showed him on a stool, giving that foot a rest. But good for him, man. Good for him. All right.
Hey, once with all the flash, all the gusto, all the hype that Deion brings, pretty tough dude.
There's a lot of steak with the sizzle.
Yeah, a lot of
steak with the sizzle.
Line right there.
Somebody had said that about him in reverse, so it's not mine. I stole it. Somebody had said that he's just a lot of sizzle, not a lot of steak, and there's a lot of steak.
That dude is today, right?
Yeah, right. All right, not the only rivalry this weekend going on up in Boulder. We've got one right here in Denver too. We'll talk about the Broncos and Raiders next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
Hey, this is Tyler here for my friends over at Phil Long Ford. Guys, every single car that I bought since my rookie year has been from Phil Long Ford in Denver. And I keep going back because I always have a great experience. I know that car shopping can feel a bit cumbersome at times, but not at Phil Long Ford because they've got the largest inventory in the state of Colorado. Whether you're looking for a used vehicle or a new vehicle, they've got the largest selection and they've got the best deals. And you can check out all those deals online at phillongdenver.com. They've got incredible inventory arriving daily. They've got cars and trucks on the lot for you to choose from, or you can always go online and get exactly what you want. And check out their incredible line of electric cars, pickups, and vans with the latest technology. They've got the largest selection. They've got the best deals. They're going to get you in. They're going to get you out. And once you buy a car from Phil Long Ford, you will be a customer for life because you will realize that it is an experience that is different than other car dealers in Colorado. Go check them out online at phillongdenver.com and let them know that Tyler sent you on over.
Everybody's feeling the prime swag right now. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's PhD, Columbus, Hastings, and I am Rob Trujillo sitting in for Josh Dover. And hey, what do you say we talk a little bit of NFL?
What's that?
Yeah, we made it almost into an hour into the show and haven't talked about the Manning cast possibly adding a new host.
That was a great commercial.
The commercial was really good.
That was very, very well done.
The DJ Khaled part of that was.
Oh yeah. Did Sean Payton take a little dig at Russell Wilson in that? By the way, little small dig. When he said audibles, no, we want them running the plays that we call.
I think it was more the Peyton Manning.
I got it. I'm just playing.
But and then, do you guys even know who Olivia Dunn is?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw her on there, and I thought to myself,
wackadoo actress.
No, the
Scott.
Livy Dunn, the LSU gymnast.
Yes, the
that
LSU
one.
gymnast, the blonde.
Too young, anyways, Scott.
You're thinking of
there's
Olivia
an
Munn. You're thinking of Munn, not
Olivia
Dunn.
Munn.
Thinking
She's the wackadoo actress.
Former
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers girlfriend.
Yes.
Yeah, Olivia Munn's the wackadoo. Yeah.
Anyway, great commercial done by them. But hey, not only is it the kickoff to the NFL week, which by the way, Travis Kelce with an hyperextended knee likely won't play on Thursday, so that's big news out of Kansas City. But it's Raider week. And that's what I was expecting to hear. It's amazing how this rivalry has just dissipated into absolute nothingness.
Well,
Listen, when
Too many young people.
You've been beat six straight times by him, you know?
listen, when there was a time when Scott Frost was coaching his first game at Nebraska, and when CU went up to play Nebraska, what? Are we getting bad to the bone?
All you Raider hater fans out there, you know what I'm talking about.
I mean, listen, I know certain people on this show. I wore the Raider hater t-shirts.
You remember them, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I used to wear them. First I wore them just to wear them, and then when I started like playing high school football and being serious about it, we cut the sleeves off, and that was like our BA shirt.
Here's my goal the rest of the week. I think we ought to take a page out of the Deion Sanders book and bring some swag back into Broncos fans. We had the one cat on right from Kansas City. Well, it's not like it's a rivalry with you guys anymore.
Right.
You know, and you haven't beat the Raiders forever. Hey, all right, let's go.
I was going to ask you.
I think it's time.
Let's talk about if the Raiders are even the main rival of the Broncos anymore, and I understand rivals.
No.
Oh, you have to beat the other team.
No.
But like, do you hate the Chiefs more than you hate the Raiders?
First off, Nathaniel Hackett caught a lot of grief last year when he was asked about the rivalry with the Raiders, and he was like, I don't know.
There's good people over there.
But Sean Payton said the exact same thing. When he was asked about it, literally the exact same thing. He said, I don't know about rivalries. There's rivalries in college football. But to answer your question, no. Honestly,
stupid answer.
I hate the Raiders. I do. Of course I hate them. I grew up here. But for that locker room, forget the Raiders. Make your rivals the Kansas City Chiefs. That make that your rival. I mean, if you're trying to go from worst to first, make it first.
If you're trying to go worst to first, you hate the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Chargers, and you try to win 6 games. All of a sudden, you're getting yourself in the driver's seat to get yourself in the postseason.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is this game is a must-win and important no matter what, Scotty?
Yeah,
because
it's a massive game.
You only got 6 divisional games, and guess what? 2 of them are against the Chiefs, so that turns this into almost a must-win in week 1.
Here's the deal: it's almost a physical impossibility to make the playoffs unless you sweep at least one team in your division. Ideally, you got to sweep 2 of them. But if you find a way to sweep at least one team
and split with the other 2,
definitely have to split with one. Kansas City, look, man, if we beat the Chiefs, awesome. I'm not predicting it. If it happens, fantastic. But I'm not banking on it. But if you want to
have the Chiefs this week than the Raiders.
If you want to be a playoff team, you have to sweep the Las Vegas Raiders. You have to.
It's a situation where this game is incredibly important. And yet I still don't feel the heat from the Bronco fan base about it being Raider week. And
it's because
an important game.
The Bronco fans lost their swag. And I'm going to repeat myself. Just like Deion brought swag to CU, some people bought in Some people didn't. Obviously, a whole lot of people didn't. Some people thought it was cute. Even on this show, we said, well, it's getting a little much, isn't it? I mean, is he doing too much swag? Is there too much hype? After this weekend, we don't think so.
Yeah.
So, listen, the Broncos fans have been beaten down and are hiding under the porch. They're hiding under the porch. Go back, I just watched the new remake of The Magnificent Seven. And the Seven comes in there and they clean the town out of all the bad fake marshal dudes. Pow, 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 pow. The sheriff in the town who just put his lot in with the bad guys, he goes and gets underneath the floorboards of the saloon and hides. They pull him out there. So what are you hiding for? And that's Broncos fans. They've been down there hiding. He sent him back, talked to the bad guy. Bad guy still shot him. So you know what? How about getting hide and getting in the fight in the first place?
Well,
how about just getting out and getting in the fight in the first place? Broncos fans have been hiding and saying, I'm sorry, allowing the AFC West to walk all over them for the last 2 weeks or 5 years, and I'm done. I'm done. I'm taking a page out of Prime's book. I'm bringing swag back. I'm going to start talking trash when it's an AFC West opponent, the Raiders. You know what? Them.
But that's what I'm saying. The Broncos fan base is missing that. I'm getting heat on the Twitch line for being a Bills fan, saying that this rivalry has died. Guess what? I've lived here most of my life. I've probably been to more Bronco Raider games than whoever is saying that. And I'm telling you, even from an outside perspective, the fans have gotten soft. It's not a rivalry anymore. The hatred is not the same as it was when it was 2000 and it was Rich Gannon versus John. You know what I mean.
I mean, I want to beat the hell out of him. Don't get me wrong. I want to beat the hell out of him. But quite frankly, to me, it's Kansas City Chiefs. It is.
That's what I think a lot of people feel that way.
Well, because I want to set a new standard. I don't want to celebrate beating the Raiders. I want that to be be an expectation.
Guess what? And Prime doesn't want to celebrate and settle for just beating TCU. He wants USC's ass when they come in town.
Well, right.
That's fine. You may focus on Kansas City. That's fine. They've been the bell cow for the last 5 years. I got you. But guess what? It starts with the Raiders. It starts with the division. You get back and you hate them all. And you play with the swag and you have an attitude. I don't say the Bronco fans have gotten soft. I'm saying the Bronco fans are beat down.
Yeah,
they're in locusts right now. They are dug themselves in the soil. They've stuck their heads in the sand like an ostrich, and it's time to just wake them up and say, come out. Let's get back to hockey. Let's get back up to dominance. And if we get stomped, so what? Let's get stomped with our banner raised high instead of. Yeah, you're right, Kansas City.
But TP, I gotta say this to you too. It's the guy who nuked your franchise. Josh McDaniels is the guy on the other sideline. This rivalry should be as hot as ever. This guy came in and nuked your franchise.
I hate him.
So let's go. It's rivalry. Yes, it's rivalry.
You don't have to talk me into one beating the brains out of the Raiders. I'm in. I live there. I'm just telling you. I understand what Sean Payton is saying, and for him, it doesn't mean Jack Squad. For the players, it doesn't mean Jack Squad, unfortunately. But winning should mean something. Winning should always mean something, and we need to reestablish a culture that we need to just win freaking football
and from that, I stand by Peyton. That's right. The culture is about finally winning. But he's absolutely wrong. And if he wants to truly get this if he wants to get the fan base on his side, win.
Yeah.
But come out right now, and like we just talked about with Nebraska CU next weekend up in Boulder, I think that's going to be a sea of black and white. Gold, I think it's just going to be CU. I don't expect to see the red wave that I used to see up there during Nebraska week.
God, I hope you're right.
If it's a red wave in CU this coming weekend, I will be disappointed in Buffs fans maybe the rest of my life. To be honest with you. Now I've got a good friend who graduated in Nebraska who's a CU fan now because he's lived here for 30 years. Has CU tickets. He goes up and supports them. But the one time Nebraska come in, so I think there's a lot of because there's some football fans in Nebraska, right? But I'm just telling you, man, I'm done of apologizing. We've sucked. The south end of a northbound mule for the last 8 years, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of apologizing for being a Bronco fan. I'm tired of walking with my head down. Hey, listen, I'm gonna put a chip back on my shoulder and walk around. And if it gets knocked off, so what? I'm gonna keep my shoulders high. And Broncos fans, we've not gotten soft, we've gotten scared. And I'm tired of living like that.
South end of a north moving mule.
Northbound mule.
Northbound.
Isn't it usually never mind.
Yeah, listen, it was just it was eloquent. It was well done.
Makes you think.
By Scott Hastings. Oh, definitely made you think. All right, talking about winning and having a certain standard, I want to talk a little bit about Team USA basketball and what happened to them over the weekend. Coming up next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
Hey, what's up, guys? Tyler here, my friends over at Superbook Sports. Man, a lot of upsets this weekend in college football. I hope you guys got in on some of the action. Keep it fun, keep it safe, I always say. But my friends over at Superbook Sports are the most trusted name in Las Vegas, and they're live right here in Colorado from the palm of your hand. You're going to love the Superbook app, and if you haven't downloaded it, download it today. Sign up, use promo code Columbus. When you sign up using promo code Columbus, you'll get yourself up to a $250 first bet deposit bonus. It's a great way to get yourself started. Guys, go find the lines that you like, and you're going to find a lot of lines that you like because they've got the best odds makers in the industry, giving you the most friendly lines that you can find so that you can make the most money possible. Hey, the Buffs just crushed TCU this weekend. You got Nebraska coming in, +3 right now. If you like it, hit it. If you don't, find something else. You're going to love Superbook Sports, though, because they've always got action every single day. Find them online at superbook.com to wager and win. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
Altitude Sports Radio 92.5, Columbus, Hastings, and Dover. We got no dumb questions coming up at 1:30. Feel free to start sending those in on the Twitch chat and the text line, where people are after me because I'm a Bills fan talking about a Bronco rivalry. So listen, I got news for you. A bunch of people that cover your team aren't Bronco fans. And like I said about Prime over the weekend, it's not the media's job to be your fan. It's not their job to believe in you. It's their job to cover you.
Don't be the guy, well, if you're not this, you can't talk about that.
Right.
Shut your mouth.
Hey, everybody hears that bull junk you're talking.
Yeah, we don't.
Dubs.
We don't
hear
necessarily.
you. We keep
listen,
receipts.
we don't like Rob either, but he has a right to say what he wants to say.
Yeah, that's right. You can not like me. That's fine. Just don't tell me I'm wrong.
There you go.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Can I get that on a shirt? That's the motto for the show.
That's a solid slogan right there.
Wanted to talk a little bit about Team USA basketball. Scotty, I don't know if you got a chance to watch what happened over the weekend, but I'm sure you know that they lost to Lithuania.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it was kind of amazing because if you looked at the box score, like everybody on Lithuania had more than 10 points, but less than like 15. Like it was a complete team game. Everything I read says that they got outsized, that Anthony Edwards played great, and they just didn't have the size to compete.
Which is one of the knocks on this team, that they were going to get pounded on the boards. They got pounded on the boards the last two games. They lost that one, but also Lithuania, hit their first 9 threes. I mean, they got on fire. The loss is one thing, but now they were still qualified for the knockout round, which is a chance to win the gold, and it also they went deep enough that it qualified them for the next Olympics. So now they got that. Yeah. But and we just talked about this with Prime and what he did when the running back fumbles. It ain't about your mistakes. It's where you go from there. They come back the next game in the knockout round against a pretty good Italian team and beat them 100-63.
And you know what? They were having fun too.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of the Lithuania game, but I saw some of that Italy game, and those boys, they were out there having fun. They looked like they had good chemistry. They were high-fiving. They were jumping. Everybody on the bench was engaged. It was good to see.
And Anthony Edwards is about to blow up and be one of the biggest stars in the NBA.
I feel him. Like the confidence is like he's charging up, you know what I mean, between the playoff series that he had, which I know they didn't end up doing that well. Like they only won one game in the series versus the Nuggets, but I thought he looked great.
Well,
and I think there were times that he took over trying to bail Minnesota out in that series. Now this experience as well, I feel like he's powering up for a major season.
Denver beat them 4-1. But they were close games, and they had some leads in a couple of games, and they aren't even in the games without Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards made that series tighter than – listen, and Bruce Brown said in an interview, that was, to me, the scariest playoff series Denver had.
Yeah.
I was scared of Minnesota. And Anthony Edwards, I'm telling you, he's about to be a legit star. Minnesota doesn't get within 20 points in any of those games if they don't have Anthony Edwards. They get blown out every single game.
Which leads me to ask if you're any bit worried about Minnesota, not necessarily taking the spot from the Denver Nuggets, but as a legit contender in the Western Conference, because you got 2 7-foot guys. One of them can shoot. But you got 2 7-foot guys who made it hard on Joker in that series. I mean, it was a tough physical series, and they made it hard on him. Mm-hmm. If you've got a superstar in Anthony Edwards that's blossoming here,
I mean, they crushed Joker. He only averaged a triple-double in that series.
No. I don't. I mean, they made it hard physically on him.
Well, but they also showed that Towns is bothered by putting a smaller, strong guy on him in Gordon, and he bothered, I thought, him, and he wasn't really that much of a factor. No, Anthony Edwards is legit, dude. Legit. I think he came back, what do you have, a 35 or something like that against Italy? Plus, he also kind of had a come-to-Jesus meeting with the team as the leader. So now all of a sudden, not only are you seeing a guy can play, you're seeing the leadership step up. Which we haven't talked about this. I loved going back to CU. They don't have C's.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They have L's and D's.
I love that. And I actually wanted to bring that up for the Broncos today because look, man, Deion's just almost like very intentionally, he's just not going to conform, right?
No.
He's just not going to do things the way that things have always been done. A C on your chest, okay, I'm going to make something more swaggy. I'm going to make something more cool about it. He passes out the L's and he passes out the D's. Okay, all right. You know, there's a difference. There is. There's a difference. Like if you want to break down, if you want to have a healthy balance of your captains on your team, you got to have some dogs. Your dogs are not necessarily the guys that are giving the hype speeches. They're not necessarily the guys that are even doing things always the right way.
But they're the guys you want lined up beside you.
But they're dogs, right?
Yeah.
And then you got some other dudes that, okay, yeah, man. I mean, you're the guy that we're looking to when things get tough. So let's put an L on your jersey. You probably got some dog in you too. If you get that L on your jersey, you probably got some dog in you. But there is a difference. There's a difference between leaders and the dogs. And I thought back to that Broncos team. Man, I think they do have a couple dogs on that team. I don't know what leaders they have on that team, though.
Well, let me go L and D, and you probably put going back to the basketball team. Anthony Edwards should have an L and a D because I think he's a dog, and obviously he's showing he's a leader. Dogs will keep leaders in check, and you doing what you preaching?
Yeah,
because dogs ain't afraid to step up to leaders. You come on now. May not call you out in front of everybody, but they'll come back and say, "Hey, you weren't there today for us. Let's go." Dogs will call leaders out. Mm-hmm. So, and I go back. It's funny they bring that up. When we won an NBA championship, 89, 90, you had probably 1, 2, maybe 3 leaders, but you had 12 dogs. I mean, there wasn't many that was going to give an inch in that room at all, and we weren't afraid to say something to Lamb or Joe or Isaiah if you weren't doing it right. Oh, come on now.
Well, and I think it often gets tabbed as like leading by example is the dog portion of that, right? Yeah. Like you do it with your play on your field. You're not necessarily going to put your arm around a guy on the bench and say, "Hey, don't worry about that fumble."
I actually disagree with that a little bit.
Go ahead.
To me, dogs are not necessarily the lead by example guys. To me, the dogs are the guys that they just got so much fire, they got so much energy that when the game's on the line, they're stepping up, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes, like look, man, Champ Bailey. That dude didn't do jack squat in the weight room. Didn't do jack squat. He would walk in there. He would grab his little card that tells you all the workouts we're going to do that day, and he'd put check marks in him. He'd put it back in the box, and he'd walk out. That's no BS, right? Now, is that a great leader, or was Champ Bailey just a dog?
He's just a dog.
Just right? A dog.
But I guess I mean by lead by example, your play on the field. Like you can't be questioned what you give on Sunday. You know what I mean? And nobody questioned Champ. Nobody questioned.
But every dog and every leader leads. There's an example that they leave behind. Saying I don't want to speak to guys, I don't want to rap a guy when he's having a tough day, whatever. Put my arm around him. That's leadership. Lead by example to me is what great players do anyway.
Yeah,
and that should be to me that's just a cop out thing for guys just don't want to be leaders because I've always said this. You know, lead by example. I'm the first guy in the morning. I'm the last guy to leave. Well, a guy that comes in 20, 30 minutes later, he don't know you were the first one in. Mm-hmm. The guy that leaves 30 or 40 minutes before you leave, he don't know you were the last one to leave. He don't know that. So who you leading the example by? Great players, their play are always an example for others.
Hey, speaking of Champ, was he the last college football player that came anything close to doing what Travis Hunter is doing? Champ got like 800 yards on offense. I think his final year at Georgia. Now, Travis Hunter should be well on pace to be doing way more than that. And Champ was not playing every snap like Travis Hunter is right now. The college football world has never, college, NFL, any world, has never seen a dude play every single snap on defense.
No one's done that.
And 80% of the snaps on offense. That's what Travis Hunter just did.
He was also out there on a special teams play. He was out there for the field goal block. And I said, like, can we not give him special teams plays?
Right,
like,
right.
I know you want your best athlete on the edge for that field goal block, but maybe we could give him a break on the PAT.
There's 2 guys. And the NFL didn't know how to use Champ, and the NFL had a bias of, okay, you're a quarterback, so you'll just be a cornerback. Mike Shanahan finally started saying, we got to put Champ out there because he's faster and maybe as good as any receiver we got. And he got hurt one game. He said, okay, we'll just leave him on the defense. Yeah. And they stopped letting him run stuff and everything. But Deion was that guy too. I mean, Deion finally was at Dallas or San Francisco finally started using him as a wide receiver. I think Dallas.
I think it was Dallas.
He was kick returners. I mean, that guy was a multiplayer too, but just like Tyler just said, he wasn't playing 85% of the snaps. Right, he wasn't playing that many. What he did the other day, and in those conditions, as hot as it was down the field and all that, That's amazing.
Well, and I think what shows you how amazing it truly was what Sonny Dykes said about it. Like the opposing coach was like, listen, I believe in our strength and conditioning program. Our players were coming off the field unable to go, and he's out there playing as hard on the last snap as he played on the first snap.
Man, Ches and I got into this one also. Scary dude to get into it with, by the way. Tough to have the back and forth. It's kind of like I'm gonna sit down.
You know what you got to joke him, make him laugh, and then you can jump in.
Yeah. There you go. But we got into it about Travis Hunter because I said, look, I loved it. I don't want to see it like that for the rest of the season. I don't. He is too good. He is too valuable. The injury rate in football is 100%. We are all going to get hurt. So how can you limit it? How can you manage it? And I get Chez's point. Like you can't play in fear. Like you can't coach in fear. Okay, that's true. But man, you put a dude out there for 120 snaps in a 100% guaranteed injury rate sport, it's going to happen, right? So I personally, I wouldn't mind if I never saw that dude go across the middle the rest of the season. I wouldn't. I mean, if you want to get more strategic offensively and how you're going to utilize it. No, maybe probably because he's the best player on the team. But I don't know that statement is as true as you make it out to be. That wide receiver room is loaded, man. They are loaded.
But on 3rd and 16, when they were down and needed to score a touchdown, who did he go to?
Perfect. But that's my point. That's my point. When we need him, let's go. Put him in there, But does he have to be out there for 80% of the offensive snaps?
And I will say this, and listen, we're putting a whole bunch of horses in front of the cart, although there should be at least one horse out in front of the cart.
Yeah.
Right? There should be at least one, maybe two horses out in front of the cart.
Wagon's moving.
Maybe we ain't putting 8 or 10 of them out there. Maybe we shouldn't do that yet. But I've said the same thing with the NBA. You want time management or what's it? There's some management they call right?
Clock management?
No, it's where they don't play load management.
What you were doing on your way in?
Get up. Oh no, that was unloaded management right there. Hey, get up 35-3 in the third quarter, and then you know what? You want to be able to shut him down. Shut him down.
Well, there you go.
I mean, start winning some games like that.
But what they're going to have to do. Even if they're going to dial it back, what they're going to have to do, and I've never seen this done personally at the college level, but in 2015, and on the Super Bowl team, DeMarcus Ware did not practice. Evan Mathis did not practice, but they went out there on Sundays and they balled out every single weekend, right? Travis Hunter, if you're going to keep this up, that dude cannot practice.
You hear what
he's going to play on Saturdays and sit down and watch the rest of the week.
What Dion told Fox afterwards said, "Yeah, we're going to put a hot tub on the plane for that guy." Hey, he'll live in the cold tub this week.
Oh yeah.
Although, but listen, can I say something? 35, 38,
20 years old.
63. Yeah, he's 18, 19.
Yeah, 20. Yeah.
Did he turn 20? 20.
Yeah, I get you.
Dude, were you ever sore 20 that you can remember?
Right.
Right? I mean, when you think about it.
I agree, though. Let's not use them up. All right. No dumb questions coming up at 1:30. Plus, we'll talk a little bit more about the Buffs on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
Hey, what's up, guys? Are you tired of your workouts not going as far as you want them to go? Are you tired of not looking as good, feeling as good, sleeping as good as you want to? Well, if so, call my friends over at Revitalized Health. This is Tyler Columbus, and I've been working with them for 7 years now, and I wouldn't stay with them for 7 years unless they made a huge difference in my life. Check them out. They got 3 locations, so they're close to you no matter where you are. Testosterone, peptide therapy, hormone replacement, medical weight loss options, they have got you covered. Find them online at revitalize-health.com.
Last week I told Travis, look, you're not going to practice until Friday because, you got a little hamstring or whatever. So just chill. I look out there on the field. He's going both ways on Thursday. I say, Travis, did I tell you not to work today? That's who he is. So this week I said, you off until Wednesday. We practiced on Sundays if you didn't play 60% of the snaps just to get my guys, ready, just to give your young guys some reps as well. Then Monday we're off. Tuesday, scout report day. Wednesday we practice. So I don't want to see him on the field till Wednesday. I don't want to see him because I know what he's going to do, and I got to really keep him strong because I went through this. I did this before.
I hear that.
So he does have a history.
Yeah.
And I would go light on Wednesday, lane practice Thursday. And Wednesday, Thursdays, installation days are usually, right?
I'm pulling the Hastings over here. So.
All right, so let me say Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's Columbus Hastings.
My bad.
But you were starving.
Yes,
you broke down for the chips, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
And you've got like chip dust all over the beard and mouth too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude, I started having a problem with that this weekend.
It's flavor saver.
You know what I did? I haven't done this in a while. I had an ice cream this weekend with my daughter. Beards and mustaches are tough with ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Ice cream crushes the beard and the mustache.
No, but the good news is you get to taste it later.
Yeah,
So,
but then it's sticky. Then you're
beautiful.
unrolling.
all right. So now that you're cleaned up a little bit,
Okay, so
TP,
so I got to go back. I got to think about my schedule. I mean, gosh, I got an NFL schedule. Like I could do that like the back of my hand. College football. So you play Sunday or you play Saturday. Sunday is film review usually.
Treatment if you didn't need it and stuff.
So yeah, I would assume it's just, gosh, I'm having a hard time going back, to be honest. But I would assume it's just everything moved up one day. So your tough day is probably Tuesday rather than Wednesday.
Well, their Sunday's your Monday, right?
Yeah,
and their Monday's your Tuesday.
Right. So if he said did he say he wants to see him on Wednesday? Is that what he said?
Yeah,
Wednesday,
I don't want to see him till Wednesday.
Okay, so that would be like on in the NFL terms, that would be Thursday, where it's probably half practice is full tempo, and then you start to wind it down a little bit. It's not your hardcore day, right? But honestly, if I'd be fine if he didn't practice on Wednesday either, and just bring him back for Thursday, which is like your walkthrough day.
You had mentioned DeMarcus Ware, somebody that you played with in a season where you are playing a lot of games, trying to make it to the Super Bowl, end up winning it.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of load management were they doing for him?
Well, DeMarcus it was amazing to watch because he didn't practice. I mean,
but he was always out there.
Oh, was he out there? That's what I'm getting at, is he didn't practice, but that dude was in everything. I mean, he was a full-on coach on the field. He's in every meeting. He's in every practice. He's in every rep. I mean, during one-on-ones, DeMarcus Ware, he'd be watching everybody on the defensive line, and players would go back to him after their rep and get D Ware's advice, right? But then you know what he would do? He'd walk over to me and he'd be like, "Hey man, I saw you shot your outside hand there a little bit too soon. Like you got to bait that thing a little bit quicker, right?" But he's sitting there coaching.
He's in the Hall of Fame, right? So you better listen. Right?
I'm listening to Marcus Ware. Hell yeah, I'm listening to Marcus Ware, right?
Yeah.
But he was so involved. Now, obviously, for a young man like Travis Hunter, can he handle? DeMarcus Ware had been playing that game for 25 years. He didn't need the physical reps. But as a young man, can you handle getting mental reps, and can that translate for you once you get on the field? Because that's not easy,
And that's what I was going to say about DeMarcus Ware. He's already got, to be an expert in anything, you got to have over 10,000 reps or something like that. He had that. But now, the difference between now going to the Hall of Fame and just being a good guy that got 10,000 reps in, a lot of guys probably get 10,000 reps in that don't go to the Hall of Fame. Difference is the mental thing that Tyler's just talked about, that he's now involved. Now his head is right there, and they're watching the offensive lineman doing stuff, boom, boom, boom. So now his mental reps have stayed strong. And I think that's a good point for Tyler, does Hunter, being still a young guy, just a sophomore, have the ability now to sit there and go, okay, or does he go?
I'll tell you right now, I didn't have that ability. I needed to physically go do it. You can tell me what to do. I could write it down in my notebook. I could watch it on film. But until I do that myself enough times, I'm going to doubt myself in the back of my mind whether I'm really doing the right thing. I needed the physical reps to feel like I absolutely could play as fast as possible.
Well, and on a much more basic level, there are different types of learners. It sounds like you're an apprentice learner, which means you need to sit there and actually physically do it and have somebody sit there with you and say, okay, here's what you're doing right. Here's what you're doing wrong. This is what you need to change. Everybody learns differently. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know how Travis Hunter learns, but I'm hoping that he can take those mental reps and use them because if he can, it'll save a lot of wear and tear on his body, especially if you're saying that the hardest days of practice are going to be the Tuesday probably for them.
Yeah.
You know, so you save him a little bit of wear and tear on those legs throughout the season. I don't know. I think it's an interesting point.
You got to save some mileage somewhere. I hate to be that guy that says dial it back. Man, goodness gracious. How long can you really do that? How long can you really do that?
And then you got to dance a fine line. Now, special players are special players, and no matter, you can go back, you know, other than maybe Bud Wilkerson, who just treated everybody the same thing hard, you know, but great players have always got a little benefit of the doubt. And now as we learn more about load management and everything else and saving your body and doing all the stuff that we're doing, even in college, okay, this is a special player. But you got to walk the fine line of going, well, how come he can't do it and I didn't do it? I played 65 plays. I'm tired too. So there'll be a line somewhere, but it also depends on the relationship that Deion has with all the players.
Yeah. Well, and so I think it was 110 snaps, 111 snaps he played. The only other players to even get close to something like that, and thank you, Andy, who we appreciate listening to the show, Andy Lindahl, called in and mentioned Rod.
I blocked his number. I didn't even know he sent something.
P1.
Mentioned Rod Woodson, which I did see he was one of maybe
and he won the Heisman.
The closest to this.
And he did win the Heisman. I mean, for a defensive player to win the Heisman is very, very challenging. He did it.
But he played so much offense too that it's a similar
Andy
situation.
said his last college game he played over 90% of the snaps, including special teams.
Wow.
He did. He started at tailback, and he played cornerback, and he returned 3 punts and 2 kickoffs. 137 plays, about 90% of the game.
And then we mentioned Champ Bailey, but his numbers weren't that high, but it's as close as you can get to what Hunter's trying to do. Some more incredible stats from that game over the weekend that I felt like should be at least mentioned in the show. Shedeur threw for 510 yards. That is 5th in the NCAA right now. There are 4 quarterbacks above him. All 4 of those quarterbacks have played 2 games.
Wow.
I want you to think about that. Like, that is crazy, the numbers that he's putting up. So we're spending all this time talking about how Travis Hunter's a freak, and he is. But, like, Shedeur is also putting up Heisman-type numbers. Yes, granted, just through 1 game.
I've watched college football all weekend long. And no, I didn't see every single game, but I watched a lot. And
saw Arkansas take care of business.
There you go, buddy. Don't even know who they played, but I watched all the teams that mattered, right? And I can say this with legitimate conviction. I think there's only 3 other quarterbacks in the country that were in the category of Shedeur Sanders. 3. You got Penix from Washington, you got Caleb Williams, and you got Drake May. And other than that, though, I mean, he separated himself. He went from a dude that was a 4th or 5th round draft selection. That's probably what he was considered coming into the season. This isn't just a first round dude. This could be a top 10 dude if he were to keep that up.
And there's nothing saying that he can't. When he was talking about it after the game, he even said, they asked him, what's the difference between FCS and FBS to you? And he was like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Right.
He's like, the defensive linemen get off their blocks a little bit faster if you scramble, but that's it really. So there's nothing to say that he can't keep doing it. If his processor is working fast enough to do it, it's working fast enough to do it. The other stat that I wanted to bring up, which I think is remarkable, Dylan Edwards tied for the NCAA lead with 4 touchdowns. There's like 5 guys who had it, and like 3 of the 5 guys, yes, also have played 2 games already. Incredible numbers that are getting put up across the board for CU here. We haven't even talked about Dylan Edwards yet, but I saw a top 10 Heisman candidates list, and he was like number 9. He was the 3rd buff on there at number 9. And he's not even, he's what, 4th on the depth chart at running back?
Well, he's got a cool story on top of it all. Deion Sanders was his youth football coach. So he's just going from little league to the big leagues with Deion Sanders. Unbelievable debut. We got to get him going on the ground a little bit more. Don't put that on him. I talked to some folks inside the building like right after the game, and obviously jubilation was probably not even the right word. But the one thing they said is we didn't get the running game going the way we wanted it to. And that's true. You got to get it going. But the beauty of that air raid offense, and I've got a love-hate relationship with it. Sometimes I love it. Sometimes I hate it. The offensive lineman in me is like, hey, man, put it on my back. Let me go. Let me go. Put these big boys behind me, right? The beauty of it, though, is even when the running game's not working, you get those running backs involved all over the place in the passing game.
Yeah, those short, quick passes were incredibly effective, and them leaking out of the backfield. That was the Acho video that you were talking about. The point that they made was that CU had it coached correctly and covered correctly. TCU was messing that up all day.
Yeah.
So, if you can get those backs out of the backfield for a quick, easy throw for Shador, it's a beautiful thing. All right, it's time. Let's get into No Dumb Questions.
Columbus, Hastings, and Dover present
Dum, 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 dum.
No Dumb Questions. This is your safe space. Send us your not dumb question now. Tweet it, text it, or Twitch it. It's No Dumb Questions with PhD on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
All right, I want to ask you guys to start off with NDQ. Memorial Day or Labor Day? See, Labor Day, you get football, and that's nice.
Labor Day, historically, for me, was one of the most stressful days of the entire calendar. So, I mean, that was cut day. And every single year on Labor Day, I'm sitting there wondering whether I got a job or not.
Sweating.
So, yeah.
And Memorial Day is your kickoff for the summer. Labor Day is your kickoff for the fall, but you get football. So, I don't know. So, Memorial Day for you, TP.
Yeah.
Nelly, what about for you?
I'm going to go with Memorial Day because I agree that it shows that summer's around the corner and we get the Boulder. That's such an amazing event.
All right. Dr. Hastings?
Yeah, when I first got into radio, the station always uncovered the Boulder on radio, the entire race. And I finally went to people and said, why? How do you do play-by-play? Well, there's a Bill up from Gunnison in the left, right. He's really got a pace left. I mean, radio for a run?
He's still running. Yeah. He's got another 5 miles to go.
He's grabbed a glass of water. He grabbed a glass of water.
I do love when they run past all the CU housing, though, on and off campus. It's a good time up there. Yeah. But Memorial Day or Labor Day, Doctor?
Memorial Day, because we're kind of remembering the fallen heroes and other people in our lives. And I'm with Nelly. It's his sign. Summer is just right here, right on the corner. And Labor Day I like because it was a good break when it came. But it's a reminder that, and we had a short summer here. And I had a real short summer, because the Nuggets played till July 14th, with the summer leagues. It reminded me that now the summer's basically winding down.
All right. I like this NDQ as well. Doctors? I know the hype for CU was on Travis Hunter, Shador Sanders, and Dylan Edwards, but I was very impressed with Savion Wilkerson. My question is, does he stay happy here if all the talk is on other big names, and how do you keep him involved? And I think this goes to something that we were talking about off air is, how many of these guys can you really feed the ball to? Are you in danger of losing some of these other big names because they're not getting the same hype as these other guys? What do you guys think about it?
First things first. I'm never going to concern myself with somebody else's feelings if somebody's balling. Okay, it's a great problem to have when people aren't getting enough reps, because that means you got a lot of dudes that deserve the reps. And yes, you want to try to appease everybody. Listen, man, you put your best boys out there and you roll, and that's what you do. And if you lose a couple guys along the way, unfortunately, that's the name of the game now in college football. No longer. Well, I think you will still have some teams that do it, but it's getting more and more challenging to recruit and develop. More and more challenging, because if you don't get playing time, you bounce. You just go somewhere else that you're getting playing time. But I was thinking about it more and more. I really don't see any reason why Deion Sanders can't live in this portal like this every single year. Obviously, he can't turn over the roster. But, I mean, go out and get the best available players in the portal every single year. Why couldn't he do that?
I mean, he could.
Yeah, especially special players, wide receivers, cornerbacks, running backs even. I will say this. Dylan Edwards had an unbelievable game, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he was special. But who'd the ball go to at the end of the game when they're running it through the clock and up the middle and everything else? It was Wilkerson, which if you go and look at their depth chart, he is 5th on their depth chart according, to our lads' depth chart of CU. They're getting on him. I love Gus Johnson, he's ran out of bounds. Oh, that's not. He goes, yeah, that's not smart, but he picked up the first down first, and he had no timeout. I thought Wilkerson, listen, he ain't real tall, but that one run he had, boom, boom, breaks up the middle, makes a nice cut up the middle, and then all of a sudden there's a big safety comes in there, boom, puts a shoulder right through that guy, picks up another 2 or 3 tough yards after contact. Wilkerson's going to be fine. I like him a lot. He's going to get his touches.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll toss a fun one in here.
Okay.
No dumb question, doctors. If you were a general in the Civil War and you could get a T-Rex or a modern war tank to fight on your side, what are you taking?
Modern tank.
There's no question, right?
Yeah,
I mean, what's a T-Rex going to do to a modern war tank?
Hold on. Does the other side get the other thing, or do I just get to pick one?
I'll take the tank, and you can have the T-Rex.
Because then I'm picking the tank. But if the other side is just like a regular Civil War battle, then.
But I mean, listen.
but you can control the T-Rex. He's going to eat your guys
but
too.
Hold on. But what if the T-Rex gets set free somewhere where there is not a modern war tank, right? I mean, if
that's what I'm saying.
Like, what would do more damage to thousands of troops if it got the modern war tank or the T-Rex that gets roaming?
Yeah. Meanwhile, the T-Rex eats half of your guys and all of theirs.
No. They're loyal.
But you still win.
They don't eat you.
They still win.
They only eat them.
Well, that's a new
they don't like the taste of your body.
Plus, you get about 50 caliber bullets in that T-Rex. How do we know he didn't go down?
Right. Yeah, that's
tank.
True. I don't know that they had 50 cals back then, but
musket balls.
So that's not a 50 cal, is it?
No, some of them.
All right. How about this one? NDQ doctors. Who wins more games this year? I've seen this a lot on Twitter. Buffs or Broncos?
It's a great question, man.
It really is a great question.
It's amazing what 1 week does. Right?
I know.
And you try to not be delusional, but it's hard not to get caught in the moment of what just happened. I mean, the Bucks were 3.5. That's what the over/under was on their season. That looks like the safest bet of the century, right?
Which
now.
we said it. We thought it was. I had him in 7 wins.
Right. That looks like the safest bet of the century. Can the Buffs? See, they only got 12 games, keep in mind.
Right, yeah. You got 5 extra games if you're a Bronco, and you also might be more than that, right? You could go.
Look, I certainly hope it's the Broncos, because it's not that I want bad things for the Buffs, but realistically, I said before the season started, if we go to a bowl game, I'm throwing a party. So if we win 7 or 8 ball games this year, I'm still happy, right? But for the Broncos, nobody's happy unless they go to the playoffs, and playoffs means 10 plus wins.
Well, it's also may come down to, since you play 4 more games at least, 5 to 4 to 5 games more with the NFL. So as a percentage of win, if both teams could be around 70%, we'll all be happy.
Yes,
and I think. Now listen, I hope this is ain't a one and done game that we saw this weekend. Now, if you're a Bucs fan, you're sitting there saying, "Hey, we're going to go 3-0 at least to start the season." If you do that, then that 7-win series is okay. Now the Broncos got to come up Sunday. Let's see what you got. And we've said it. I've said it here. If you go 4-1 to start the season, you're going to the playoffs. Because if you can win 4 out of the first 5 games, and that's probably including beating the Jets at home, you're going to go to the playoffs.
I think they have to get off to a good start if they're going to be the answer to this question, no doubt.
By the way, the Union mini ball is .58 caliber. The musket ball was .69 caliber.
I was just going to say this. Mitch and Cody on the text line, thanks for texting in, both of them confirming that musket balls are in fact 50 cal. So there you go.
And the Confederate bullet is .577. So
how about that?
Yeah. So you get about 100 of them dudes on a line hitting the T-Rex. We don't know.
And then somebody else is saying that the tank will run out of gas, which I think is a good point too. All right, real quick.
Oh, the T-Rex just gets more gas every time it kills somebody. It just gets more energy.
It goes into its killing fueled rage. You're absolutely right. All right, we'll skip the last NDQ. Thank you, everybody who sent them in. Sorry if we didn't get to yours. You can always send them in for tomorrow or the next day. We'll talk a little bit more about the Buffs coming up next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
What's up, boss? You believe that? Hold on. Oh, do you believe in that? Huh? Oh, no. I read through that bull junk you wrote down. I read through that. I sifted through all that. Yeah. Oh, no. Come on. Do you believe? You don't believe. You just answered it. You don't believe. Next question.
Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
Yeah.
Do you believe? I'm Rob Trujillo filling in for Josh Dover. And I wanted to play that partially to say, I do want to say this. I don't think it's the job of the media to believe. They should be writing skeptical articles about it. That's, speak truth to power. That's the whole reason the media is there. So I don't think necessarily that the media needs to believe. But it is an interesting question that you can ask about the players in that locker room and the culture as a whole as to if people believed in Deion and what they were going to do. And the reason that I bring it up is DJ Reed, New York Jet, plays on their defense there and said that he thinks that this defense that he's on can be all-time good. And he referenced both the 85 Bears and the 13 Seahawks.
Yeah, you forgot one.
Yeah, I noticed.
You forgot one.
He
forgot two.
He left a couple out.
I mean, listen,
But-
I'm not saying the 2015 Denver Broncos defense was the greatest defense of all time, but they were
should be talked about.
But they were the most timely defense of all time, and absolutely in that category.
And listen, there's others in there too. 2000 Ravens absolutely belongs in there, I think. So the question I think goes down to, you don't want to quell the guy's belief, but you also don't want him coming out and saying that before week 1, do you?
Nah, I don't care.
You don't care?
Nah, I mean, coaches, I think old school mentality, and Sean Payton's probably of this mentality as well. Old school mentality was just shut up. Just don't say a word. Bill Belichick.
Prove it on the field.
Don't go out there and say a word, right? I think today things are changing, and as long as this is not an arrogance deal, to a degree, I don't believe in like the secret type of stuff. Like affirmation will absolutely come to true, but I do believe in words of affirmation. I do, and if you are saying things that you truly believe, I'm down with it. Right?
Words have power.
Yeah,
for
words.
sure.
Yeah, they got power.
So that defense was ranked 4th in the NFL last year. A very good defense, but not even the top defense in the league last year. Now, could they make a jump to the top defense in the league? Sure. But to get, if you want to say, hey, we want to be the top defense in the league, I think that's fine. But if you immediately invoke the 85 Bears, you know what I mean? I feel like it's just a bit much.
Listen, I mean, I think if Deion Sanders has proven anything, talk the talk, walk the walk, right? If you're going to talk the talk, you better walk the walk. And believe me, the country would have shamed Deion Sanders in ways that you would never have believed. If the bus would have gotten out there and gotten smoked, that he would have been destroyed. He would have been a laughing stock, right?
100%.
So that's the risk that you take. When you talk the game, you better be willing to back that thing up.
Scotty?
I would also throw the 77 Broncos Orange Crush defense in there that I don't think ever gets enough respect. Maybe with Randy Gradishar getting in there to the Hall of Fame this year, maybe people look them up. But they were phenomenal. The ones in the modern era that gets all the love are the 85 Bears, the 2002 Baltimore Ravens. That defense was so great, led by Ray Lewis and that front line of Saragusa and Adams that were like the first two guys up front that went 300 plus, and everybody's like, okay, now we need to get big dudes up front like that. No, man, listen, I've said a while ago, I think Bronco fans need to get back to the hype talk and get out of the shadows and get out from underneath the porches and let's go and be rowdy, because you know what? It worked last weekend, and I think it's going to work all season for the Colorado Buffs. So, hey, let a guy sit there talk, because I will say this, the one thing watching Hard Knocks, and I know they always give you a slanted view of the team that they're kind of covering, that defense is legit. That defense is going to be good. They're going to put
They're good,
pressure
no
on
doubt.
everybody.
Yep.
They're going to slow runs down, and they got guys that can cover on the outside.
They got guys on every level.
Yeah,
Their
they're going to be
defensive line has dogs on it. CJ Mosley is a great player. I mean, they're a good defense, no doubt.
Hey, I can't help myself here today, and I'm sorry. I got it. I just saw a great text. It was a late, no dumb question, but it's transitioning back to the Buffs here just for a second. The question was, first question is, I hope you guys saw this. Did you guys see Deion Sanders after the game? He had his hands on the running back Sanders from TCU, and he had like a solid minute and a half conversation with this kid. Right?
He also came out while he was injured. I don't know if you saw that during the game.
when the kid got hurt.
So he must have some relationship with that kid. I don't know.
Maybe he's a nephew or a cousin or a...
Yeah, I don't know.
Sanders.
Maybe he's got some relationship with that kid. But the first thought that entered my mind was, man, that looks like that's a conversation. That looks like a hello, how you doing, right?
He's going to go recruit him, you think?
That's the question on No Dumb Question. It said, if Deion Sanders is talking to your star player with eligibility left after the game, how worried would you be as an opposing coach?
Yeah.
Dude, I think it's a great, legitimate question. Deion Sanders doesn't have to do anything. It's matter of fact, it would be an incredible recruiting tactic for him the rest of the season. Every time after the game, go talk to the star player. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to recruit them to Colorado. Just go acknowledge them. But you simply acknowledging their existence after the game. They get unhappy in their current situation. Hey, Deion, how you doing, pal?
I agree with you, but I also wouldn't be concerned about it if I was a coach, because he can literally do that with any player. He is 100% unique.
But if
in
Deion
that he can do that
Sanders
with every player.
identifies somebody on the opposing team and finds him after the game and is talking to him, hands on his shoulders, giving a hype speech to him, I'd be nervous if I was a coach. Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe, but I thought it was more class than everything else. In fact, when he went out when the kid was hurt, I thought it was cool. So I don't think in the moment you say, okay, I'm recruiting right now.
No, I don't think he was intentionally doing that.
I've seen Krzyzewski do that. I've seen the great coaches honor the impact guys on the other side when you talk to them. I've seen coaches do that all the time in the handshake lines in basketball. No, I think it's cool. I have no problem. I don't. Yeah. Now, if I was their coach and was insecure, maybe, but I don't think TCU is going to worry about that.
Yeah, and like either he's going to go or he's not. You know what I mean?
So Deion told a story after the game that didn't come out before him. So there's a little bit extra motivation for Shedeur Sanders going into this game, because apparently Deion and Shedeur went to, I don't know what school it was. He just said we went to a football camp that offensive coordinator happened to be at. And it was Kendall Briles, right? So Kendall Briles was at some school, and he barely acknowledged Shedeur's existence, right? So he said Shedeur was extra motivated for this game because he wanted to beat this dude's brains in, right? Because he didn't even acknowledge his existence. So Deion used that story for his staff, and he said, listen, be careful with every single kid that walks in this building, because you might not know what they are today, but they might be something down the road, and they remember how we converse with them, how we talk with them.
My roommate my senior year was Joe Klein, who transferred in from Notre Dame before the portals and everything else, and blah, 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 blah. And one of the reasons he came there, one of the reasons he went to Notre Dame, he was big Catholic, and his dad was a big Catholic, World War II vet, and said, I always dreamed of one of my sons going to Notre Dame. And so, and he said it while he was sick in the hospital, and Joe said, okay, I got to go to Notre Dame because his dad was sick when he was telling him this. But did not have a good time and was not his place. He went someplace for his dad instead of for himself. But he said the reason he always kept Arkansas in mind is because when he notified Arkansas that he was going to go to Notre Dame and not Arkansas, Coach Sutton, who said, hey, Joe, that's a good to say. That's a great program. Digger's a good coach. We wish you nothing but all the success in the world. If something happens, doesn't work out, just keep us in mind. But, man, I know you're going to have a great college career.
Yep.
And he remembered that. And like when I called Nebraska and told him I wasn't coming to Nebraska and then decided on Arkansas, I was cussed out by the coach who was recruiting me.
Really?
I mean, literally, as an 18-year-old kid, I don't even know if I was 18 yet. 17-year-old kid was literally cussed out by their assistant coach on the phone.
I got that by multiple teams.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, so that's no offense, Scotty, but that's a different day and age back in the day. I'm shocked that even happened with UTP.
100% it happened. Matter of fact, it happened with the school that I was begging to give me an offer. Begging. The University of Oregon. I got 25 offers coming out of high school. I could have gone to multiple top 10 universities. And the one school that I always identified in high school because they had cool stuff. They had all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to Oregon, right?
Yeah.
So I was I was selling myself to the University of Oregon, and I'm like, listen, if you guys offer, I'm coming. I'll come, right? And so they knew that all along, and they kept telling me like, hey, you're the next tackle on our list. If we don't get this guy, we're going to make you an offer. Well, I commit to CU, and within 30 minutes. I get a call from the head coach at Oregon, and he says, listen, hey, offer's in the FedEx. It'll be there tomorrow. Come out here this weekend. I know you committed. I said, no, I mean, listen, I told you I'd come, but I'm buff, man. I'm buff now. He had the guts at that moment to dog cuss me for not taking not even taking the recruiting visit to Oregon that I was begging them to offer me.
Because they came in late.
Right.
I'm sorry, I cut you off a little bit there, Scotty. So, I can't believe that that is a commonplace thing when you're talking to these 17 or 18-year-old kids, especially with the way that the transfer portal.
Well, this guy that did me was only assistant, but then he became the head coach because the Joe Cipriano, if any Nebraska fans out there remembers Slippery Joe, they used to call him, I think, got sick, passed away, had cancer, something like that. This guy became the head coach and didn't last long because he was a hothead. He dog cussed me out, and I'm like, I remember I'm laying in my, bedroom. I think I had a phone in there because I always calling your girlfriend at night. But I'm laying there in bed, telling him no because I didn't even want to call him. But my folks said no, you got to call him and tell him you're not going to go up for your visit. And if you already decided, I was done with recruiting stuff. But anyway, I got cussed out. You know what? With the portal now. That should never happen ever again. Because back then, if you went, like Joe had to sit, like say he's my roommate my senior year, we didn't get to play. He practiced and all that stuff with us, but he didn't get to play all year. He had to sit out back then, right?
But back then, if you lost a recruit,
it
was done.
Yeah.
It was over. So it was like, well, F you. Like, you're dead to me, right? But nowadays, that's not the way it is.
But yeah, even in your day and age,
I got another story. I got another story that went the other way. So my dad was a buff, and in my heart of hearts, I probably always knew I was going to be a buff. Even if Oregon actually did offer me, I probably was always going to be a buff. But that was the one school I was really interested with. I took Eric Bieniemy, John Embry, were two of the main recruiters from CU for me. They knew my dad was a buff. They were one of the first schools to offer me. I took a visit out to Nebraska, and on my trip to Nebraska, Eric Bieniemy calls me. And dude, I have never been mother effed in my life. Like I got mother effed that day. And he's laying into me. Your dad's a Buffalo. You know what this means. You know what this means. If you go to play at University of Nebraska, I'm done with this. This is the last mother effing time I ever call you. This is the last time I ever call you. If you're a buff, you're a buff. But I ain't calling you again if you're going out to Nebraska. I'm like, Dad, I think I gotta commit. I gotta go see you now.
I don't blame him. No, I don't blame him.
Yeah,
because if you're a buff, that hate is real. A question from Chavez, and I want to know too: did the FedEx show up? TP?
It showed up.
That offer?
Yeah, it showed up.
What'd you do with it?
I have it. I think my mom kept every handwritten letter I ever got. All the offers. It's in a box somewhere in a basement.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I wondered. Do you burn it or do you send it back to him?
No, it was all memories, man. And listen, that was a cool period of life. You want to talk about feeling on top of the world? Going to first off, you're the big man on campus in high school, right? But then you come home every day and you walk to that mailbox and you got about 10 handwritten letters from different schools across the country. That was a cool moment of life. That in hindsight, I'm very grateful that my mother kept all those memories.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, I ended up getting a box from my mom too, and I got recruited by people I didn't even remember.
Letters you just glanced at and said, "I'm not going there,"
because they're too far. I mean, Villanova was hard on me. The Naval Academy was hard on me.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean Syracuse. I got all these Big East schools were like all over me, and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, that's
because I want to go to KU.
I am not as good of an athlete as you guys and got one recruiting letter. So.
There you go.
But I kept it, so there you go. All right,
Some runner for life.
Some professional defensive ends probably wishing that they could enter the transfer portal. We'll talk about some unhappy pass rushers coming up next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
What up, guys? It's Josh Dover for my friends over at Superbook Sports. It's where I do my sports betting, and I encourage you to check them out as well. Give them a shot. If you're an avid bettor, well, you download all the apps and see who's going to give you the best lines. I promise you, Superbook's going to be in that competition. I also love Superbook because they got a little Colorado Teams tab. Boom. I can bet on my favorite Colorado Teams tab just at the push of the button right there. And if you're new to the game, everybody's got to start somewhere, right? Well, why don't you start with some free money? You can get up to $250 back on your first bet with a bonus if you'll use my last name Dover as your promo code. Dover is the promo code, up to $250 back. I'll also give you a free bet right here. Season's winding down, so you better get in on it. I bet the Rockies over on strikeouts almost every game. And 90% of the time, I'm getting that you have a winning ticket email from Superbook Sports that I love to see. There's some free money for you, folks. Use my last name, Dover, as a promo code and bet the over on Rockies strikeouts. It's going to pay off. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-522-4700.
Kid, wasn't scared. No one knew me by name. Trashed my own house party because nobody came.
All right, we'll let it go.
Attention that we crave. Don't tell us to behave. I'm sick of being told my name.
It's close.
I don't want to waste my time.
Become another casualty of society.
Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's Columbus, Hastings, and Dover getting our pop punk on here on a Tuesday after Labor Day weekend.
Cause you don't know us at all. We laugh when old people fall.
That is right in your wheelhouse. There.
Oh hell yeah!
Was that high school for you,
dude? Pop punk. That's nostalgia for me, right there.
Some 41 for you. All right, so real quick, I want to mention that there are a whole bunch of unhappy edge rushers in the NFL right now that probably wish they could enter the
Hit the portal.
Right. Brian Burns, Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, all hanging out, just not going to camp, not going for the first week of practice, probably not playing in the first game, though Pittsburgh says that they're preparing as if Nick Bosa will be there. So it'll be interesting to see if they play. And now Chandler Jones. Did you see all this drama?
Yeah, this one, I'm trying to figure out what's going on this one.
I don't really know what's going on.
This one kind of popped up out of nowhere. Chandler Jones puts out a tweet today that if that's my head coach and that's my GM, I don't ever want to play for that team again, or something along those lines, right?
He put out screenshots of his text messages to them that he has sent them multiple text messages and not heard back.
Right.
From his head coach, Josh McDaniels.
Right.
And his GM. And he's basically saying, why did you bring me here if I can't get in touch?
And then on top of all that, he said that his key card's not working. He said that his key card to the building is not working.
And that he's had to go to a local gym to work out because he can't get into the facility right now to work out.
What the hell is going on there?
So I was going to ask you, do you know if there's anything in the CBA that they have to keep the players out for those 3 days? Because there's that 3-day break over the holiday where they have to give them off.
Yeah, I mean, but the building's never closed.
They could go in if they wanted to, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening out there in Las Vegas, but it sounds like more Josh McDaniels chicanery.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Unlike some of the other guys that are kind of holding out, right? Chandler Jones holding out. He's an old dude. Right, an older dude.
I mean, a vet, yeah.
Got 11 guys in, and he played 15 games for the Raiders last year, had 5.5 sacks.
Yeah.
So how much you holding out for?
Yeah, and the other huge difference, there's no animosity between Bosa and the 49ers. None.
Yeah.
Neither side is talking trash about the other side. Both sides just say we're going to get the deal done. It's just we just need some more time here.
And I think that's true of Brian Burns and Chris Jones, too. I don't think there's a ton of animosity there. This feels different.
Yeah.
So interesting. Scotty, you had mentioned to us, though, that you just saw an article that came up about living the rivalry a little bit.
I want everybody right now, I'm going to give you a few seconds. Reach out if you're a CU fan or at least now interested in it, or if you have old CU alumni or ex-players like we do sitting beside us. Reach out, get them here. I'll wait a few seconds if you want to text them, tell them to turn the channel. Okay, good.
Okay, good. They're gone now. All right.
This came out within this last hour from David Ubben from The Athletic. Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders planned to make a call Monday afternoon. I guess they on the online store, we mentioned how you make money for NILs, have an online store and so on and so forth. But he's associated with a shirt that's red on the online store. Now remember, this is a new kid new transfer. I mean, we talked about rivals in that first hour. Do the young players and the pros understand that the Broncos and Raiders used to be a rivalry? Does the 83 new players understand that CU and Nebraska don't like each other or didn't at one time? I told you I had a beer by a lady who grew up in Omaha. So CU and Nebraska was a great rivalry. Oh, well, we got somebody from Nebraska finally owning up to it, right? So it goes on. There's a red shirt in the online store he's associated with, but with rival Nebraska on the schedule this week, he plans on taking it down. This is from Dion now. This is personal. That's the message of the week. This is personal. That, first of all, is from your head coach. It goes forward. They talk about they've only played twice since both teams. One went to the Pac-12, one went to the Big Ten.
Buffs won the last two, by the way.
Yeah, including one for Scott Frost's debut in Nebraska. Which was awesome.
Obviously, he took over in December. 87 new faces. This is now from Shedeur. Colorado We don't like Nebraska.
Ooh.
Simple.
Ooh.
That's just what it is.
So to be clear, it's not a Nebraska shirt. It's just a red shirt.
It's just
and he's still taking it.
Well, you remember a couple of weeks ago, Deion said during Nebraska week,
No more red in the building.
no red anywhere in Dow Ward or anywhere.
Well, that was always the rule when I was there. That was a Bill McCartney rule. That there's no red in that building. Just plain and simple. If you wear red, you're getting punished. Literally. I mean, I carried that over to my kids for a long time. I didn't let them buy red stuff. Now, what's cool about it is that Deion is embracing. Look, do I think in his heart of hearts that Deion Sanders hates Nebraska? I don't think he really cares. But he knows what this means to his fan base. He knows what this means to people that have been dying for this program to come back to life. So you know what? He's going to learn to hate him.
Well,
right?
now let me read.
Hold on, really quick. I just want to tie that back to Dan Hawkins. So
Exactly.
Deion walks in and he says, "No, I'm embracing the pride and tradition of the Colorado Buffaloes. I'm embracing this." When Dan Hawkins comes in that building, he rips down everything in that building, rips down the top 25 wins, rips down all the slogans, puts in Boise State stuff. Deion's doing the opposite.
Yeah, and so perfect lead into the last line of the story. It's on The Athletic. This is from Deion saying, learning the dynamics of the different rivalries, I like it. It's delightful. I've learned the severity, the serious nature of this rivalry, and I'm embracing it 100%.
Hell yeah.
And listen, I mentioned it to you guys in the break. Even if he's just playing a part, it's not a part.
That's the part the CU fans want to hear.
Right, exactly. For CU fans, it's real. Like, I hate Nebraska. You know what I mean? And it's because when I was a kid, they played games where they were knockdown, drag out.
You do have a red wristband on right now.
Okay, relax.
It's electric force. He went to an EDM this week.
Would you like me to? I'll take it off for you right now.
Yep, okay. Wouldn't mind.
Here we go. Taking it off.
Wouldn't mind.
But
and how about me?
But my point is, play the part.
Play the part.
It's fine. Play the part.
You're here. That's what we like about you. Which goes back to this. We talk about this win, and once again, I have stayed away from Twitter, and I got on it this weekend to get on you, and then had two other tweets.
Real nice. Real nice.
I'm gonna throw this out there, and I said this on Twitter, and I want to ask you two guys, and you're my CU historian, Tyler. But I said this, and I really mean it, because I remember watching this game and was just going nuts, watching TV, throwing things around. I mean, I did pay for tuition up at CU, so I do feel like I'm invested a little bit into the Colorado Buffaloes. I said, this is the biggest win and most entertaining win I've seen for the Buffs on the road since the Hail Mary in Michigan.
Well, it's...
I mean, think about it for a little bit.
I won't fight it because the impact, maybe not the biggest win. Like there were literal bigger wins, but the impact of the game,
the impactfulness of the win.
Because like my senior year, we beat number 3 Oklahoma. That was a hell of a win.
Yeah, it's a big win.
We beat Nebraska 65-51. My senior year. That was my final game of college. That was my walk-off game.
It wasn't that close.
No, it was not.
It was not that close.
It was not. Those were huge wins. But the impact of those games, not even in comparison to what we just witnessed this Saturday.
Yeah, and I think that Michigan game with that Hail Mary was kind of impactful too.
Probably, yeah.
But the validation of, I don't know, 8 months worth of hype, if he comes out and they fall flat on their face, you are in a very Russell Wilson type situation from last year. Whereas they validated everything that they were getting and said, maybe we weren't giving them enough praise. You know what I mean? And the transformation it causes for that university is just.
And now following up with historically for CU fans, the biggest rivalry you've had. I mean, the Pac-12, when you went over there, you lost it. They tried to make Utah, who, by the way, I thought looked good on Friday night. They're trying to, or Thursday night, they're trying to make, no. It's been Nebraska. It'll always be Nebraska. And when those two teams can meet, it's going to be special for our state. Learning this weekend, it's special for a lot of people in Nebraska also, more so than Tom Osborne wanted to make it like. But for him to say, learning the dynamics of the different rivalries, I like it. It's delightful. I've learned the severity and the serious nature of this rivalry, and I'm embracing it 100%.
Well,
that's what you want the coach to say to the team after a big week. Because what happened? What's natural for kids when they have a lot of success?
So
is to have a letdown.
To your point, Scott, you know what Deion did when he got home? He had a hard-ass meeting with those kids. hard. He didn't walk in. He enjoyed the moment, and they all enjoyed the moment. But when they walked in and they turned on that film, he was killing those kids. Yeah, I mean, he was all over it. This isn't the standard. This isn't what we're trying to do here. That was fun, but that's not the standard, right?
Yeah.
So as a coach, that's his next challenge. Okay, I got them to believe. Now, how do I prevent them from becoming arrogant?
Yeah, keep them focused on the task at
And
hand,
maybe
which is
good that-
whatever the game is next week.
Yeah, and maybe good that it is such a big game to this fan base, and to put this out to this fan base. This game is the most important, this fan base because of the history.
And to your point, Scotty, I'd rather my coach do that than what Matt Rule did. Because have you noticed what Matt Rule did?
Backtracking like crazy.
Somebody's backpedaling a whole lot.
Matt Rule was talking mad trash about Deion in the offseason. Mad trash. We're not doing that here. Nope. Some other universities, they're getting rid of all their kids. We're not doing that here. I'm going to build our kids. Now all of a sudden, hey, Deion, nobody loves football more than Deion Sanders.
And let me throw this out that we haven't talked about. We can talk about it some more later. But if you saw part of that Minnesota game and the meltdown late in that game by Nebraska, and you watch this game here, and I know they had to take a quick timeout in the third quarter, which I still think was smart because it got him back going, and then he's getting on him. Let's go, whatever. For a first-time coach in a Power 5 conference and against a ranked opponent on the road, I thought he managed the game well.
Especially because, yes, they made a bunch of mental errors that at some point we can get into if we want. Yeah, I agree with you, Scotty.
Yeah.
There were a lot of mistakes that can be cleaned up, but that's when you're cleaning up mistakes after a win.
A lot more fun.
A whole lot better.
A lot more fun.
Whole lot better.
Hey, listen, Shedeur was 38 of 47, 80% completion. He probably, honestly, could have been more like 42 of 47, or maybe even 43 after a couple great catches.
Yeah, there were a couple great catches. There were a couple just mental errors, but all stuff that you can clean up in a week if you really hammer down on the guys. All right, our Daily Dose coming up next with Steve Nelson on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
Hey, what's up, guys? Are you tired of your workouts not going as far as you want them to go? Are you tired of not looking as good, feeling as good, sleeping as good as you want to? Well, if so, call my friends over at Revitalized Health. It's Tyler Columbus, and I've been working with them for 7 years now, and I wouldn't stay with them for 7 years unless they made a huge difference in my life. Check them out. They got 3 locations, so they're close to you no matter where you are. Testosterone, peptide therapy, hormone replacement, medical weight loss options, they have got you covered. Find them online at revitalize-health.com.
Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. The jokes are coming in on the text line. In fact, Nellie's even got one for us. But I can't tell people not to send in the Nebraska jokes because it's rivalry week. So
I just had some idiot on Twitter when I said, please don't sell your tickets to Nebraska fans. And he said, I can't even remember what he said, but he had some stupid typo in there. And I was like, oh, really? The ends for knowledge for real, huh? Yeah.
Ends for knowledge is a good one. We had one on the text line that said, what's the best pickup line in Nebraska? Nice tooth.
Here we go.
And Nelly had
best thing
one
that ever came out of Nebraska. I-80.
Hey, Tyler, do you know why it's so tough to solve murders in Nebraska?
I do not.
Because there are no dental records and all the DNA matches up.
That's good. That's good.
So if you've got Nebraska jokes, go ahead and send them into the text line. Because why would I stop you from doing that? Or Raider jokes for that matter. But we are getting into the daily dose.
Well, they're interchangeable.
Yeah, of course. Most of the time. We are getting into the daily dose brought to you by Steve Nelson filling in for DT. So what do you got, Steve?
I want to open this with a question for all three of you. Rob, are we counting you as a doctor as well? Or
No.
do we have two doctors and
He's
a
on the
patient?
show.
Yeah, he's a doctor.
Okay, he's a doctor. Us. Here's a dumb question. That's not dumb. Right now, we're building up to week 1 of the NFL season. Broncos, Raiders, in Mile High, Sean Payton's debut with the Broncos. Can he reclaim the scraps of Russell Wilson? Can he finally get the Broncos off the schneid in their little skid against the Raiders in this rivalry? And yet, we're not talking about it. No one in town is talking about it right now. CU's dominating all the headlines, all the discussions. If you're Sean Payton, are you loving this? That right now you're flying under the radar and no one's talking about you? Or do you think he feels like Rodney Dangerfield? Broncos are getting no respect right now. How do you feel about this?
I mean, if he's being true to his MO, it's amazing. It's actually a dream come true for what he's been preaching to that team. Hey, keep it quiet. Get off social media. We're not talking. If he's being honest, well, see, I think Sean does enjoy some attention. But what he's preaching to his team, it's a dream come true.
Scotty?
I think, yeah, his ego likes the attention and he loves being able to ward it off. Now, if the attention isn't as big, and like I said, he loses this week, or we talked during the break, he loses this week and CU beats Nebraska.
Watch out.
Watch out about getting attention. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, especially at the beginning of the season, you'd rather be flying under the radar. This is not college football. The polls don't matter.
No.
You know what I mean?
Just
All you
wins.
have to do is win games. So to keep it
Al
light.
Davis's line, just win, baby.
That's right. And so to keep it light, to keep the pressure off a little bit, I think going into this first week, I think it's probably a really good thing for him. Nelly, what's next?
The news came down earlier. Andy Reid was chatting with the media and said that Travis Kelce hyperextended his knee during practice. He's currently being evaluated, but as it stands right now, it's questionable if he will be able to play in Thursday's NFL season opener against the kneecap-biting Detroit Lions. And also right now, you were talking about is it Chris Jones?
Yes.
Their big tackle who's holding out right now, or their defensive end. Oh, yeah. So they're not going to have Chris Jones. They might not have Travis Kelce. These are two huge gaps for the Chiefs on opening night.
Definitely, and I think Jones makes that defense go, if you ask me. So it'll be really interesting to see what kind of effort they can put out there. But also, they still have Patrick Mahomes, and they're still raising a banner. So,
look, I mean, I was dumb enough at one time to say something like, "Oh, they lost Tyreek. If there's ever a year, this is the year to try to capitalize." I'm done doing that. Listen, if Kelsey's hurt, if they don't have a couple of their star players, until they are not the best, they are the best.
Are we invoking the Tom Brady rule? I'm not picking against him until
pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah.
And it seems, I mean, we'll see if Patrick and those guys get to 7 Super Bowls, but I mean, Tom Brady did it all them years with a whole bunch of names and no names at wide receiver. It's kind of what Kansas City's kind of going at.
Yeah. I'm really quick before we get to the next story.
Tom had Gronkowski. Mahomes has Kelsey, and with no Kelsey, let's see.
Yeah, but Tom was successful even when he didn't have Gronk. You
Was
know,
he?
so sure. They won 3 Super Bowls before he.
But he was good. But then that last Super Bowl, and everybody's, Gronk's just on that Tampa team because of Tom. Go back to that Super Bowl.
He was great. He was great.
Gronkowski was in that Super Bowl.
Real quick, a couple of the Nebraska jokes coming in. Some of them I can't read. But Maddie sends in, how do you get a Nebraska grad off your porch?
Pay the pizza man.
Pay for your pizza.
I knew that one. Yeah.
And then let's see, 202 sends in, if 2 Nebraska alums get divorced, are they still brother and sister?
Wow.
All right, what's next, Nelly?
All right, from one scorned Jones to another. You were talking about this later, but we got to bring this back because Tyler's boy, Josh McDaniels, is doing what he does best, and that's alienate the guys on his team. Chandler Jones of the Raiders made a bunch of posts on his Instagram story slamming the team for the fact that he can't actually get into the team's facility and work out right now. So he's just going to gyms in Vegas to condition. And he said, why did you bring me here if you're not even going to let me into the facility? Also, according to his Instagram story, he claims that the team is trying to provoke him because someone reached out to the mother of his child, despite the fact that they don't actually have a good relationship right now.
Reach out to the mother of his child about what?
He didn't specify, but he said that that somebody from the team contacted her separately without his knowledge or his permission. So he said, bleep it. I don't want to play for the Raiders if that's my head coach or my GM.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, hashtag not surprised. You go back to what Josh McDaniels did in that first year. His first priority was to get rid of Jay Cutler. And then he had the nerve to walk into a team meeting and say, hey, fellas, don't worry about it. I could turn a high school quarterback into an all-pro. Okay, all right. Now listen, whether you love Jay or not, that was one of the most promising names in football at the time.
Yeah.
Then he trades Tony Scheffler. Then he gets alienated with Brandon Marshall. And you went from the youngest, most talented offense in the NFL to depleted. And that's what he does. I mean, I don't know what's going on out there. That's a weird story. I've never heard of a guy's key card not working. Even at the worst of times, even when things get awful, I've never heard of a key card not working.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy. And like the ability to drive away talented people is wild to me. Just absolutely crazy, Scott.
Signed a 4-year deal out of Arizona. So Chandler Jones is still under contract.
Oh, yeah. No, he signed a brand new
years.
deal last year.
So get into camp.
He's trying to go into the building, though, and they locked him out.
He's saying he was trying to go there.
And that the key card isn't working, and then he tried to text the coach and text the GM, and neither of them responded to him. So, I mean, I agree with you, Scott.
He signed a $32 million guaranteed contract.
That was just last offseason, right?
In 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was 2 years ago. But
so if you don't want him, say, hey, we're trying to trade you. Just know if you want to use, well, maybe they I don't know.
But isn't that something they would normally communicate, Tyler? Like, isn't that something that they would say to him? Like, hey, we're trying to move you. Don't come to the facility.
No,
keep it quiet.
That happens.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, that happens all the time.
Well, they can't cut him because their dead cap number this year is 25-8.
Well, that happens if they trade him too, doesn't it?
Which is probably why he's trying to walk in that building. Because you're not gonna make me the bad guy here,
right? And he can always file a grievance, and say I want my money because I tried to come to work and you wouldn't let me.
Yep,
you know what I mean. So, all right, Nelly, what's next?
Why don't we keep things in the AFC West? Chargers safety Derwin James said they've got one goal going into this next season, and that's to flip the script on the defense and to change the narrative. Because if you look back on the Chargers season last year and you're thinking about that defense, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What's your lasting memory? 27-0 over the Jaguars in the wild card round.
Oh, yeah.
And that left a bad taste in the mouth of the entire defense to the point where they made that a point of emphasis this offseason. The Chargers added linebacker Eric Kendricks and defensive tackle Nick Williams to go with guys like Joey Bosa and cornerback J.C. Jackson. Point is, Derwin James says they have the dudes to flip this narrative, and maybe this year they won't Charger.
Well, I mean, they've always had the dudes to flip the narrative. That's the thing about them. You know, it was, Khalil Mack and Bosa and Derwin James, like those aren't just guys. Those are really good players. And yet they still did what they did. You know what I mean? So
the complete opposite of what I just said with the Chiefs. I buy it till I don't. When they're no longer the best team, they're no longer the best team. But I'm not ever betting against those guys, right? The Chargers, I'll buy it when you do something. They have been the most talented offseason roster, I feel like, for 10 years in a row. And certainly they've got the dream QB that they just got locked up long term. They are set up for success, but I'll believe it when they actually do it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, the history of the team does not have anything to do with how they will do this year, right? The fact that they're always hold on, just let me finish. The history of the team, what the 1990 Chargers did, has no effect on what the team is going to do this year.
Agreed, but there's a difference between recent history and
that's exactly what I was going to say. You can tell that these guys are still thinking about what happened last season. And the fact that that's still in their head absolutely makes me think that it's going to affect them this year, even with new guys on board. Well, if it's in your head, it's in your head.
But it can affect them one way or the other. You can be angry about it and work on it and use it as motivation, like the Broncos did when they blew that big game against Jacksonville in '96 to go on and win the Super Bowl in '97.
Yeah.
That was motivation. That was an embarrassing loss at home, and they use that as motivation. So it depends on where you are with your headspace. If it's like, oh my gosh, we don't want to get in a situation and be embarrassed again, then you got the wrong guys anyway. But listen, I think they're a dangerous team. I will say this, where history does right, it's the same ownership group, and that ownership group seems to me to mess things up for 30 years. Even think of some of the teams Dan Fouts had. I mean, they had some great teams. They couldn't do nothing. Phillip Rivers all those years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you were talking about, is he a Hall of Fame quarterback? And there's just no trophies in the trophy case for him. You know what I mean? Because despite how good they were, they could just never get it done. Nelly, what's next?
The Philadelphia Eagles just announced their team captains for the upcoming season. They are naming 9 captains.
It's getting ridiculous.
Of course, got to be Jalen Hurts. But then on top of that, cornerback Darius Slay, kicker Jake Elliott, receiver Devontae Smith, also receiver A.J. Brown, defensive end Brandon Graham, center Jason Kelsey, offensive lineman Lane Johnson, and defensive tackle Fletcher Cox.
So anybody that got a vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tyler, I was going to ask you, what's an ideal number for team captains, and why is it less than 9?
Honestly, I think it should be 3. I think you got one dude on offense, you got one dude on defense, and you got one special teamer.
I mean, 9 it's almost a fifth of your roster. Like, that's crazy.
Leaders and dogs.
Leaders and dogs. There you go, Scott.
And
I wish an NFL team would do that.
Right?
Well,
I would love to see an NFL team go, we're having leaders and we got dogs.
For people who don't know what you're talking about, Colorado this past weekend, CU had on their team's jerseys L or D. There was no C's anywhere because apparently Dion does not believe in captains. He only believes in
leaders
and dogs.
And so there was.
I'm waiting for an NFL team to do that.
So real quick, if the Broncos were to do it, Pat Surtain's your dog.
He's a dog.
Do we have another dog? Simmons.
Javonte Williams?
Not yet.
Could be.
I mean, Russell would be an L. That would be a leader for sure.
Yeah. Despite what everybody says about him, he's still a leader.
He's still your quarterback.
Do you
He's
really
your
want
leader.
to put an L on Russell Wilson's jersey, though? I think that sends the wrong message.
Oh. Didn't think about that one, Nelly. That's a fair point right there.
I got a D for you. Alex Singleton? Dog?
No, he's not a dog.
He ain't a dog?
No.
Ooh.
No, he's not a dog. Scott,
dude leads your team in tackles, isn't a dog?
He's a hell of a football player.
He ain't a dog?
He ain't a game changer.
Oh, so then that should be a G.
Oh, okay. All right.
Third category?
But to me, a dog is a game changer.
Now, to me, a dog is a dude that is every play, he ain't leaving anything out there, and I think that's Alex Singleton.
Yeah, it's making me think of the Nuggets real quick, and I'm sorry to sidetrack us here, but I kind of want to. Because for a long time, Jokic was a dog, And we wanted to see more of the leader from him, and we got that over the past couple of years. But Jamal is a dog, right?
Mm-hmm. Jamal's a dog.
Jamal's a dog. Do they have anybody that
KCP's a dog.
has an L?
Well, I
mean, Jokic got to the point where he was leading the team, but
there are leadership qualities in dogs.
Of course. Sure.
I think KCP had it.
But who's their
I
L?
think Joker had Joker's. Listen, you saw in the postseason the leadership of Nikola Jokic.
Sure.
He's
come around.
All of a sudden, you saw the dude like going nuts on dudes when they weren't playing hard against the Lakers, and all of a sudden they go on an 18-2 run after Joker just jumped on the team. Okay.
But we talked about in years past when I've been on the show, even you
have had a leadership void with the Nuggets for this will be my 30th year. Is that right? Covering the NBA as a media dude. And they have had a void of leadership for years. They don't have that anymore. And Murray's kind of a leader dog too. Really.
But he's a lead by example guy. You know what I mean? He's a fiery guy. He's a passion guy. I don't think
he is a heart and soul guy. Which I call him. He is kind of your heart and soul guy on that team that can get the team going.
We're getting a lot of Kareem Jackson for a dog
he absolutely,
on the text line.
He absolutely was a dog. Is he still a dog? I hope so. Dude, he's in year 15.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're a dog, you're a dog. You know what I mean? When Brian Dawkins came here, he was still a dog.
See, I don't mean to get caught up in stupid technicalities here, but to me, like, at year 15, it's tough to be a dog. Like, a dog is a game changer. Can you be a game changer in year 15?
You don't think Dawkins?
So when I see his ass in Atlanta, I'm gonna beat his ass.
You don't think when Dawkins came here at the end of his career, he was still a dog?
He was. Yeah, he was.
I mean, so I think you can do it.
Could Bassey, starting at the nickel position, be a dog?
Maybe.
Do you not hope he is?
I wouldn't put the title on him yet, but could he be? Yeah.
See, I don't think you have a lot of them. Surtain, I put a D on. And maybe, I put a D on him. I put an L on Simmons.
Me too.
Put an L on Simmons. And then after that, it'd be like the Buckeyes on the back of Ohio State's helmets. You got to earn that D and L, and you pass him out through the season.
This is an interesting question because I definitely don't think he's a leader, and I have questions about his play in general. But Derek texts in, Bowles is a dog.
No.
I mean, he has that kind of grinder mentality. I don't think he's a leader in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, he's a Shih Tzu.
He's not a dog.
I'm sorry, he's a what?
One of those little dog shih tzus. He's a guy that anytime somebody rings the doorbell, he's barking the hell out the door, and as soon as they walk in, they go and run and hide behind the couch. Thank you for Twitch. Tyler just agreed with me on Twitch just by his face.
I didn't say jack squat.
You know there's video evidence of these shows, right, TP?
I was thinking of Schnauzer, actually. My grandfather had a Schnauzer growing up. We had a couple. And those dogs, doorbell rang, them things, hippie dogs, hippie. And then you walk in the door, they run them back under behind the couch or sitting there behind their master or whatever. Them ain't dogs. Them are just, they're loud, but there's no substance behind them.
We also had Abe text in that McKinnon is your dog and McCarr is your leader, which I definitely agree McKinnon's your dog.
McKinnon's a dog.
100%. But I don't know. It's interesting that this distinction, because I've said this about the Avs before.
Well, another way,
their L is Landeskog, who's not there. So
no, I couldn't agree more with
he's
in
also
particular with McKinnon, because when you're a dog, there's a certain part of you that everybody lives in fear of you, right? Like do people, is Russell Wilson a good leader? I actually think he is. Now, in order to be a great leader, he's got to get better buy-in from his guys. But I think he's got to
be around his guys.
But is anybody afraid of Russell Wilson? Oh, hell no.
Right.
No.
But they're afraid of McKinnon.
Well, what was our guy Harrison with the Steelers? That might be the ultimate dog.
Yeah.
In his career, especially in his prime, was there a team that wasn't afraid of James Harrison ever?
Dude, my first start of my career, Monday Night Football, Pittsburgh Steelers, James Harrison and Lamar Woodley. Those are the two dudes I went up against at my first start of my career. No sacks.
There you go. Did Harrison ever manhandle you?
But you were peeing down your leg?
Oh, yeah, I was. Oh, no, I got destroyed on a few plays. I just got lucky.
But if we're talking about guys that you're scared of, who strike fear into the hearts of your opponents, you got to go with the chain snatcher, right? Wasn't he the ultimate dog?
Oh, that's a dog.
That's a dog.
He was a dog, 100%.
You know we do. That's what we did.
Yeah, 100%. That's a dog.
No, he was a dog.
All right, we'll talk a
He
little
had
bit.
a bunch of dogs in it. Malik Jackson, dog.
We'll talk a little bit more about it, and maybe a questionable captain naming also in the NFL. We'll do that next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's PhD. Scott Hastings, Tyler Columbus. I'm Rob Trujillo, filling in for Josh Dover, and we're having a lot of talk about the D and the L, which is the dog and the leader, and how there's it's interesting to try to split captains into those two categories, as Dion had introduced for the University of Colorado this past weekend. Now, I kind of want to first start by talking about another questionable person being named a captain in Arizona, where it's Tank City, and he's still injured. Quarterback Kyler Murray has been named one of the captains by their head coach. Gentlemen, thoughts?
Obviously an eye roll situation because even if he is the current franchise quarterback, is he captain? Is he even if he's on the field? Is he?
Does he qualify for either one of those categories? Leader or dog?
QB is just like a guarantee.
In my opinion, the only sport that holds still true meaning to being called a captain is the NHL.
I agree.
I think that's the last bastion of what it really means to be a captain and the importance of that position to a team.
And the only sport that the captain is not always the best player on the team.
Well, Landeskog. I mean, he's never really been the best player all these times, but and there's a difference between a leader and a dog, like we talked about a while ago. But the NHL still holds true to form that the captainship actually means something, means dinkus in the NBA. I got named captain when I was in Denver, and that was one of the greatest honors I had. And I got that jersey hung up. I got two jerseys hung up. One is the championship jersey in Detroit, and the other was when I was a captain with the Nuggets. That meant something to me. But now, I mean, they'll have the 12th guy or the 13th or 14th guy go out and meet with the refs and stuff like that. It doesn't mean anything.
Well,
they don't want to take their time to go out from the layup line to go meet with the refs and the other team.
I do love that it means something in hockey. I'll throw rugby out there too. Like if you're not the captain, you're not even allowed to talk to the ref. Like they will penalize you.
It used to be that way in basketball, college, and the only guys that were allowed to talk to were the captains.
And I think that's.
I wish it would go back to that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because your captain then has more control over the team. And if you trust him enough to be the captain of the team, it matters. People saying on the text line too, soccer on the list as well as another sport where the captain matters.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know enough about that. But yeah, I could see that. That's fine.
On the text line also, we're getting that Miko is a dog, Val is a dog, and Taves is a dog. And I feel like you gotta be careful how many D's you start handing out.
Yeah,
and I know what I'm saying.
It's too many.
Nichushkin has to earn his D back. To be honest with you, right? I mean, he has to earn it back. Val, I'm okay with that.
Okay, all right. Miko is a dog, I think, but I think if you're calling Miko and McKinnon your dogs, and Makar and Landeskog your leaders, and then I think you're done. Right, like I don't
see, and I don't even know if I'd call Makar a leader yet.
A dog?
I don't know if he's a dog either because I thought.
Come on.
He's got to be one of those.
Yeah,
two.
he's one of the two.
By obligation, you got to give one.
Well,
of those
but
two.
your whole thing is the game changer. Is he a game changer? Yeah, but to me, a dog, I look at different than you. I talk at a dude that brings it every single time he's in the game, every single play or every single 45 seconds of ice time, whatever you want to call it. And I thought Makar backed down after he got suspended that one game, and I don't think he was the same. And I don't think dogs change their coats. And I thought Makar changed his coats in that game. Is he the best player on your team? Maybe. I'll give you that. I don't know if he's got enough dog in him yet.
I'm just filling in a chair here, but I will ask the other fill-in, Nelly. Who is the dog and the leader on the PhD show? What do you think? What do you think? We got.
Okay, I think if we're going for who's the leader,
of course, Grismer jumps up and starts pointing at himself immediately.
if we're going for the leader, it's probably got to be Dover because he drives the bus on the show. He takes you in and out of the commercial breaks.
Oh, but look at the face.
But if we're going for the dog, though, Scotty's got that dog in him, man. You guys have a theme song that says he punched MJ where the sun don't shine. That's a dog right there, if you ask me.
I won't fight that. Yeah, I won't fight that. No, I mean, Dover getting named leader. That's, I mean, listen.
You don't want him to have a C there?
Does the leader do the grunt work?
The
leader motivates us to better standards.
I'm just, by
that metric.
I mean,
Can't be Dove,
the guy
right?
works like 5 jobs. You know, that's.
Well, we are giving out S's for stupid.
Oh my God, this poor guy.
Hey, Dover gets the L, but it's for long hair. There you go. There you go. He's growing something.
So you want to put in for leader? Is what you're saying, TP? Is that what you're getting at here? Because we can make you the leader.
I got no problem Hastings being a dog. I'm cool with that.
But I think you're more of a dog too than people give you credit.
Well, listen. I didn't survive 8 years and then I fell in the trenches not being a dog.
So I would put there's dogs over here, and we chew up we ain't got
I don't even did the Broncos even announce captains? I don't even remember.
I haven't heard anything about it,
which is a little strange, isn't it?
But they've been late on every announcement that has come through and come down. Right, they were one of the last. They were one of the last announcements. But they were one of the last teams that officially announced their 53-man roster. They were one of the last ones, and I think that's just another part of your controlling head coach. So,
well, what if they don't announce captains though?
Why not?
What if they don't?
Maybe they don't need to.
You can do unique things with captains. I mean, I've been on teams that are changed every single week, and you got rewarded. You know, based off of last week's performance, you became a captain. Pete Carroll named me a captain the first game I ever played for a Seahawk, just because we were playing back in Mile High. It was my first game I played as a Seahawk, and he named me a captain. It was awesome, man.
Rex Ryan used to do that a lot.
Did I earn it? Did I deserve it? No, absolutely not. But man, like Scott just said, that was an honor of a lifetime, getting to walk out there to the 50-yard line at back of Mile High Stadium, a captain. That was awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the rotating captain thing because that person has a little bit of extra juice that week.
I don't.
You don't?
No.
You just said you liked doing it.
I had fun with it.
That's what I mean.
I don't mind reserving a space.
Yeah, that's all I mean.
Yeah, if you want to reserve a spot for a guy that deserves it, that's cool. But I've also been on teams that we traded out all 4 guys every couple weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking you have like your couple of actual captains who are your leaders on your team, and then if you rotate guys in there, I don't hate it because if you're standing up in front of that offense and saying, this is why this game means so much to me, bring the passion, bring the energy, see if you can get the guys fired up a little bit. So I don't mind them rotating out a guy, but yeah, you should still have a leader on the team. No doubt about that. Per Mike Kliss, apparently the veteran players voted yesterday for captains. That's coming in on the text line. I don't know if that's true or not. But
I always had my doubts when we would vote. I'd be like, "Why are we even voting? They're not counting these votes."
I was going to ask,
you know, because every single year you'd get that weird. Not every year, but it happened a lot. You get this weird dude that you knew the coaches always loved, but nobody else looked at him like a captain.
Right.
All of a sudden, he's got a C on his chest. You're like, "Hey, did you vote for him?"
And there's also, you know, this too. There's dudes that were leader in the locker rooms that the coaches still hated, and no way they wanted to let him be a captain.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Quite frankly, I don't see any reason why a coach has to give a vote. I don't. Hey, this is my team. I'm putting my DNA on this thing. So,
I think that's what Jonathan Gannon did in Arizona because I did not see that he was voted captain. I just saw that Kyler Murray was named captain.
Okay. No, he actually players who took the bus to practice. Those are captains. People who drove.
Those are the
not
dogs.
A chance.
Those are the dogs.
So I was trying to figure out. So were the bus guys or the car guys? Were they the trained killers? Which ones were the trained killers?
The bus guys.
The bus guys.
Have you ever been on a bus?
I've been on the bus.
Public bus.
But I was always the first bus.
I'm just saying, like those are trained killers. Those are dogs.
I mean, my bus is at Cherry Creek High School.
I know.
Nicer. I know.
A couple number changes too, and I just real quick wanted to get your guys' take on number changes. So like a guy like Mims who's wearing number 83 during the preseason. If you were like, hey, I want to buy our top picks jersey, you bought an 83 and now it's a 19. He switches to number 19.
Are you buying a Mims jersey before the season even starts?
I mean, he was your top draft pick. You guys don't.
No.
Oh, I think you're talking to the wrong guy.
He was also hurt 75% of training camp.
I know. I'm just saying, I feel like it's weird to let them switch this late. I know the roster gets cleaned out and there's extra numbers available and that's why you switch, but like, shouldn't you have to switch in the offseason? No, I don't know. It's just weird to me.
Well, they're just waiting to get the number that they want. They're waiting for somebody to get Chop City.
Yeah. And I mean, I liked 83 on him too. How do you feel about wide receivers not wearing 80s numbers anymore? Like, it's not a thing that they do anymore, but I felt like it was
I'm pretty old school on this one, but I have not gotten comfortable with anybody wearing random numbers. I've not gotten comfortable with that.
Yeah, even like the random zeros or ones or anything like that. Jonathan Cooper wearing a zero.
Your outside linebacker, Gregory, 5.
Yeah.
I mean, now been doing that in college forever, but that seems weird having a 5 as a D end or an outside linebacker.
You could have 5 and 0 meeting at the quarterback to sack him. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you having me back in. I will be filling in the rest of the week for Dover, but I appreciate you letting me sit in the chair.
Trying to get that L, see? Trying to get that L.
Trying to get that L.
He's trying to get that L on the way out.
You got to earn that L.
He's trying to get that L on the way out.
Because I said,
hey,
thank you.
Take that L on the way out.
Yeah.
Easy.
No, we're going to give you that L on the way out.
Josh Grismer and Steve Nelson behind the glass doing a great job as always.
We've sucked the south end of a northbound mule for the last 8 years.
I'm still trying to figure out what that means. All right. Thanks for everybody for listening. Crackman and Lindahl coming up next.
Take that L on the way out.
What up, guys? It's Josh Dover for my friends over at Superbook Sports. It's where I do my sports betting, and I encourage you to check them out as well. Give them a shot. If you're an avid bettor, well, you download all the apps and see who's going to give you the best lines. I promise you, Superbook's going to be in that competition. I also love Superbook because I got a little Colorado Teams tab. Boom. I can bet on my favorite Colorado Teams tab just at the push of the button right there. And if you're new to the game, everybody's got to start somewhere, right? Well, why don't you start with some free money? You can get up to $250 back on your first bet with a bonus if you'll use my last name, Dover, as your promo code. Dover is the promo code, up to $250 back. I'll also give you a free bet right here. Season's winding down, so you better get in on it. I bet the Rockies over on strikeouts almost every game. And 90% of the time, I'm getting that you have a winning ticket email from Superbook Sports that I love to see. There's some free money for you, folks. Use my last name, Dover, as a promo code and bet the over on Rockies strikeouts. It's going to pay off. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-522-4700.